Good morning, you're very welcome to Off the Ball AM. I am guest appearing today alongside my co-host, Mr. Kenny Cunningham.
You're under more pressure than me today.
Under a lot of pressure, especially with you in the building.
Let's look after each other, Keith. Come on, team
We're
players.
fresh from our antics last night at Air doing the Arsenal game.
Yeah, I know. Funny one, strange game, wasn't it? Yeah, I was expecting so much more from AC Milan.
They've impressed you in recent weeks, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Really like the way Gattuso's been setting them up. Old school Italian system in terms of being compact, difficult to beat, keeping clean sheets, pinching games.
Playing with the spirit he played with.
Yeah, exactly. And I like even some of his comments. You look at him and you think, oh, absolute, Captain Caveman here, like, you know what I mean, in terms of how he manages. But like, if you actually look at what he's been saying, I actually respect what he's been saying. And look, people have a perception of me, but I'm a big believer in kind of the dressing room. I'm a people man. I respect players. I'll give them respect. I expect it back. Saying all the kind of really kind of football man, someone who's been in the game and understands it, and obviously played at the highest level. He clearly's got a response from the players. But last night,
they were poor, weren't they?
Yeah, really dropped off. And fair play to Arsenal, they took advantage of it.
Didn't see that one though. I really didn't. And I was saying last night in commentary that certain things that were happening in the Arsenal, and I know AC Milan were nowhere near it, but still.
Yeah.
Arsenal, like I was saying to you off camera, Xhaka, I couldn't believe like what he was doing defensively. He is normally just. People ask what Granit Xhaka is, and he's a holding midfield player that's only interested when the team have the ball, which is something you'd level at a lot of the Arsenal players. They only want to play when they have the ball.
Yeah.
Last night he was covering well. I thought Maitland-Niles came on and done really well.
Yeah, he did.
Slotted in when
that Maitland-Niles, Keith. I look at him, I think
he's not a fullback.
Johnny Cash is demeanour. It don't matter. That was a big game last night. Young
that
lad,
helped him in that instance.
Yeah, but like pressure as we must have felt as young kids, like coming in and the you can feel it.
He's ice cool, isn't he?
Absolutely. His heartbeat, I reckon, never changes from when he comes on to when he leaves the football pitch. You can see it. Yeah. I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Do you not?
No, I think
it helped him last night because he's coming on, he's getting his start, and you're right. Like you're looking at him, you're thinking he thinks he's gone and playing five-a-side with his mates. He does, doesn't he? He's in the San Siro.
Yeah, but that's to a point that's good. But at some point, those bigger games come in his career, if he takes the step up, regular on the Arsenal team, those big games, I think you need a bit of that bit of fear, before the game. 20 minutes in the dressing room, you need that to kind of motivate, get your focus. Yeah, to kind of, I think that's not a bad thing. A little bit of that. With that young fella, I played with him. I'm not going to start name dropping. Do you remember
Go on.
Well, no. When I came into the Ireland under the 21 squad, Matthew Rush. You remember?
We're going to say Johnny Jones.
All right, yeah, good on. Matthew Rush.
I remember the name.
Yeah, he was at West Ham at the time. Came into the under 21 squad. Let Keith laid back.
Seriously, horizontal.
Yeah, lovely footballer, great build, athletic, but just kind of. Yeah, I remember, bless him, going around the team hotel. We were doing the 21. The senior team was eating around us on the tables, yeah. And Mick, fair play to him, was captain of the senior team. I remember coming over to the table, the 21's table, came over, went out of his way, which was a nice thing. Yeah. All right, lads, how's it going? Shook a few hands with the young. Oh, yeah, great, Mick, yeah, boom, boom, boom. And Matt was sat on the table with us. We used to sit there, maybe 8 around the circular table. So Mick, yeah, great, lad, great. Walked away and... lads went, all right, yeah. And Matthew Rush turned around and he said, who was that?
No, he didn't.
Honest to God, I'm telling you, he took...
What year was that?
That's Mick McCarthy. That's the captain. That's the captain of the senior team. No, I can't remember. And it wasn't 1966 or 68 before his days.
Captain of the national team, didn't know who he was.
Captain of the national team, he didn't. He said, who's that? And the lads are literally, Matt, come. It's Mick McCarthy. He's captain of the senior. All right.
To be fair.
Yeah, anyway,
he was never going to be destined for anything.
No, but mate, look, it takes all sorts, don't get me wrong. And like you said, I wish I was a bit more that way. I was the opposite, particularly
you're very highly strung.
Not like highly strung, but like nervous, fearful, probably a little bit kind of worst case scenario. Oh Jesus, no, coming up against this fella, lot of pace. How am I going to overthinking situations and maybe get myself a little bit more stress? Yeah, it did. Experience. Of course it does. But like I say to you, I think it's still have a bit of it. I think it's no bad thing. Yeah, your focus is there. Keep your concentration levels there, rather than going out with a little bit more of a blasé. Oh, I'm super calm, super cool. Type thing. I never quite like to see that in a player. There are exceptions, of course, players at the very highest level with the ability that they have. Yeah, fair enough. But generally speaking, I'd never like to see that in a dressing room with a player walking around. We've probably all played with them. Around. Yeah, bothered. Like having a crack or listening to music or whatever. 20 minutes before you go out. Like
that's difficult, though, isn't it, in terms of team dynamics? Because that player does need something different than maybe we would have needed, and I would have been the same. I would have been thinking, is his head on this game here?
Yeah.
And it's drastically changed. Like, we would have coached underage teams in the last few years, and we see the difference now than even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's different. Like, even music in a dressing room. But, you know, some players' music, obviously your music wouldn't be suited.
Timeless. My selection would be timeless now. I could put a few tunes on now, and you know the viewing figures just going to go through.
Who would you put
viewing
on?
Figures going.
Bob Dylan.
No, don't tie me down. No, don't put me there.
But it is
but you're right.
It?
Everybody's different. You've got to appreciate that. Everybody's different response to different. So what's good for you isn't necessarily good for everywhere else. But it's an interest, you say, for me, with your coaching cap on, you know, you get a bit of a sense of it, I think, in the dress. That's why I think it's always a good thing. I like to see a manager on the pitch before. It doesn't happen too often. Very rarely see a manager on the pitch when the team's warming up.
Yeah.
And
Klopp does it, doesn't he?
Yeah, Klopp does it. Or remember David Moyes, and there was a couple of others who, even Marino occasionally, I see him out there. I think that's the reason you get out to see the lads train, is the focus there, the concentrate, even the quality of the warm-up. You hear some of the managers, you can get a sense of it when you're out there, the lads quite at it. You know, so when they come back into the dressing room, you can jump on top of it even 15 minutes before.
It's not quite right.
Yeah, get a bit more focus. I think that's important. You can get a bit of a sense of it as a coach when you're around it. So. Yeah, interesting, just that dressing room dynamic, same in most sports, I suppose. All
right, let's have a little look at what we've got coming up on the show. We're going to go through the back pages. We're going to chat Irish football. The Irish squad announced yesterday. AP McCoy was in yesterday on the Keith Andrews show. Kenny, I hope you've been downloading that. We're going to talk to Eddie O'Sullivan, who's in New York, with the lads who are on a jolly up in New York, which was nice. Did you get that invite?
Definitely didn't get that invite.
Okay.
I was looking to get a taxi here this morning. Let alone get an invitation to New York.
We've also got my old school mate, James Downey, in, which would be nice to see him and get his take on Ireland's match on Saturday against Scotland. And then we've got the crappy quiz from New York. So let's get into the papers. Ken, I'll start it off because I know you're a bit nervous about that. Let's get ready for the papers.
OTB AM.
In association with Air. Get Air Sport free with Air Broadband.
Okay, we've got the Irish Examiner winner. All right, so dream return for Ruby Walsh yesterday at Thurles. 4 months out, broke his leg in November. Ruby, so good to see him back the week before Cheltenham. Obviously be looking to go. And also, Size and John ruled out, so Kevin Kilban will be absolutely devastated with that one, because I'm sure he had a few shekels on that. We go the Irish Times. Struggling McIlroy. Let's have a little look. Yesterday, blaming the wind, Ken.
Who would plant a tree there? Seriously, I can understand his frustrations.
Can we have
who would put a tree in a golf course? Outrageous.
To be fair, Ken, if you played golf, that's where you will be more often than not.
I just swing left hand. I'm ambidextrous.
I actually seen that show. It was on Sky Sports News this morning. I don't know how he didn't break his club, but yeah, Rory was. I think he was he 3 over? Yeah, 3 around the 74. He's looking to complete the Grand Slam of the Masters next month. Not particularly having a great time. Are you a golf fan?
You're going to find out in a few weeks. We're on a promise, aren't we? No, we're on a promise. Kevin Kilban's the man. Funny enough, you mentioned him there. Isn't he organising a golf day out for us?
Is he?
Oh yeah. That was the shout.
It's decent.
You're usually the man pulling it together, not on this occasion, obviously.
No, not today. Not today. Right, Irish Independent. What have we got? Martin O'Neill hits back at Michael O'Neill. It's the O'Neill feud. A little bit silly. I think Michael O'Neill might have had a couple of shandies on him when he gave that original interview about the underage.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a little bit of a delicate one as well, Keith. I know that, but as a general point, I can understand where Michael O'Neill's coming from. Generally, it must be so frustrating for him. And as you know, Michael's involvement in the setup up the north doesn't just revolve around the senior.
He's heavily involved,
setup.
Isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Takes a huge interest and a hands-on involvement in terms of the underage development as well. So I can understand as an association, and forget about the fact we're up from the Republic, but from the outside looking in. An association actually puts the amount of time that they do with their underage players to see them jump, across and play the Republic in this case must cause a huge amount of frustration. It would be very disheartening for the people working on the ground at a coaching level, kind of working with these players. And I respect the right of every player to choose whichever country wants to play with. We know the unique situation which exists on this island, but as a general point, without getting into exactly what Michael said, I can understand where he's coming from. I will say that.
Yeah, and also we've seen here as well, Joe Schmidt having a little bit of a a dig back at his critics, maybe the style of play. We'll ask James Downey about that. It's been likened to your time playing under Jack Charlton, the style of play.
Oh, he didn't like me to Johnny Sexton or anything like that, did he? A playmaker.
No, he didn't.
No.
Right, the Sun football. Our mate, Arsene Wenger. Kenny was annihilating him last night in the build-up to the game. No, he weren't really. But look, he's been under a tough time. He certainly came out and produced the goods last night, picked a strong team. And another one, old boys, US exit. Martin O'Neill hinting that maybe there might be a send-off for the possible retirees of John O'Shea. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a bit. John O'Shea, maybe Glenn Whelan in the
send-off. Where's that? Coppers or what's he thinking?
I think Coppers will certainly be in the...
you got your VIP membership down there.
I have not.
The only place you haven't.
Come on, Ken, come on. What have we got? The Daily Mail tried to stop us. I think it's Tyke Furlong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tyke Furlong again.
He's back in, isn't he?
Man, he's back in, yeah. It was a bit of a risk, maybe. I want to hear what James Down. Surely they wouldn't risk him, but there's a lot of talk he might be kept until next week's game.
You just feel with us though, Keith, in terms of, we're talking about like, you know, the dressing room, team ethic, the whole thing. When I look, and I've got I'm not a huge knowledge of Irish rugby. When I watch the Irish rugby team play, talk about the collective, I know it is generally speaks the same with every rugby team, but more so with the Irish team. When I look at us, in terms of personnel, one in, one out, just feel as if the whole collective, when it works, it's like a machine, how we actually play, how we operate, you know what I mean? So I never get overly worried in terms of when one in and out. Of course, Tyke Furlong, obviously, outstanding player, I understand that, but yeah, just the way the team, the way they're set up, the way they're drilled by the coach in particular, you know what I mean? I never get overly nervous, and watching them this time around. I mean, the Wales game in particular was
quality.
Yeah, it was a strange game though, because Wales didn't have a lot of possession. You know, in football we talk about possession. Possession is king type thing, but that game against Wales, we were
devastating on the counter.
Yeah, every time they got into their half and threw the ball, I was sweating. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing.
They were dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, so that was a great game of rugby. I really enjoyed that.
On Saturday.
Oh, I'm going to go my way. Weekends generally with the young, run around and stuff. But that game now, I'll make a bit of time the Scotland game, because off the back of how well they played, I watched the Scotland-England game. Actually, that was a great game of rugby as well. Scotland, phenomenal.
Where weren't they? I hope they don't produce that. They don't hate us as much as England, do they? So we should be all right. Go on, you're going to take us through your papers. Take us away. The Evening Herald.
Oh, the Evening Herald, right, excuse me. I thought we were done. Oh my God, I'm struggling here now.
No, you got it in your hand there. Top. Herald.
Herald here, yeah.
Go on.
All right.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah, here's Johnny. Obviously,
Rangers Celtic as well.
Teamed up the game of the weekend. Yeah, Martin, obviously a big story. Obviously, he's had his replies as you spoke about to Mike and Neil. But I imagine a lot of the rugby stories will be dominating Friday leading into the game, and understandably so. And like I said, I'm not a huge football rugby fan, but you get that bit of a sense.
To Ireland, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lions. But this in particular, the fact when the games, you looked at the England game, you thought, could we be in with a chance going to that England game? Just if we can win there, maybe to go. That the best we could hope for. But now we've actually got an opportunity beating Scotland, getting the bonus.
Slam.
Yeah,
bonus
we could actually go.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be a lap of celebration. We go to twin. That would be unbelievable. I don't think that's going to happen. Somehow, I think there's going to be something on it. But really looking forward to
Daily
that.
Star, what you got for me against Martin O'Neill against?
You're letting me off the hook there. I thought if I talked long enough over the Herald, when you wouldn't go.
No.
I was looking at the front page there. That's what it said to Tommy. Yeah, nice picture of Martin and Michael in happier times there. Shaking hands. Mention of Lovren having a Poppy United. Obviously, that's building a little bit the big game. We haven't even mentioned Liverpool, Manchester United the weekend. I don't think there's a Liverpool team for quite a long. I know Liverpool have generally a good record there, but the form Liverpool are in, a lot of talk. Even talking to Chris Sutton, he was saying Liverpool are just going to blow Manchester United away, and you can understand it. If they go there with their A game, they're capable of doing that. Exactly. But that Manchester United team, you can't, whatever it is, no performance levels haven't been great. They're up and down.
I want to ask you about him when we chat football, and I want to ask you about him.
But that'll be fascinating. But you look, United aren't going to roll off. We know that. You just feel as if United are going to hang around that game, and that's such a difficult game to call. Tactically, very interesting to see how it plays out. Really looking forward to that. Yeah. Another one?
No, keep going. Mirror.
That'll do.
Mirror.
How long's this show? Come on. The Guardian. I'm a big Guardian reader. You know that, don't you? I've lost my mirror. You've taken
mirror
that.
Gone.
The mirror's gone.
Guardian, have you got the Guardian?
Yeah, I've got the Guardian there, yeah. What's that? You whacking Phoenix. I've just spotted there. You whacking Phoenix there in the front. I'm a big fan of him as an actor. Yeah, big fan of him. Oh, Gladiator. Amazing. His part in Gladiator. You don't even know. You're thinking you're desperately trying to. You're thinking Charlton Heston or something. I'm talking about the remake. No,
Oh,
great
I know
film.
you're on about Russell Crowe, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's a great picture. Aaron Ramsey on the back. Good to see that, like a bit of celebration with the Arsenal players. I mean, so downbeat, so negative. Yeah, and you've mentioned the fact that, you know, Wenger under so much pressure and a bit of stick. I mean, a lot of it's been deserved, to be honest. I'd have to say that. Just because of his stature in the game, he's been there for a long period of time. He's kind of revered and respected rightly, so it doesn't mean he should be exempt from criticism.
Yeah.
So he's had to take it on the chin. But generally speaking, because of that, I enjoy seeing this just being flipped a little bit. His team plays well, and that type of picture on the back of the paper kind of encapsulates it. Aaron Ramsey celebrating with his teammates. Reaction from Wenger. Good to see that, like, you know, because that's typical of football. The highs and the lows, any type of, you know, elite sport. So yeah, it was good to see it.
You got the racing post there for us? Jesus, okay, you got to end your corner this morning. Obviously, all about Cheltenham. I presume Size and John, is he? What have you got?
Well, I panic every time to pick up the racing pod, the horse racing. Like, you know, I wouldn't be a huge horse racing fan, which is right, because when I was in Birmingham, obviously Cheltenham, a lot of the Irish punters would fly into Birmingham. You would at Birmingham Airport.
Yeah, I would have been at Wolves. I would have been straight down as well.
Yeah, you would have been. Yeah, traffic noise gone past my house actually on the way down. Yeah, but no, I wouldn't be a huge horse racing fan. No, I haven't.
Have you not?
No. I think I've only ever been to the only couple of venues I've been in Ireland actually. The Curragh. I remember going to the Curragh once. Big bomb scare down there years ago. Again, before your time. That was the day I was actually down there. Had to actually evacuate the course. It was a bomb threat. Yeah.
What did you do?
Had to actually. Well, I left. No. Obviously, but I think Leopardstown once maybe for an evening meeting there. Years, like, I mean, the lad.
What was the bomb scare? Go back to what was the crack?
No. Well, I think it might have been.
What times was it? Like in the mix of it?
No, it would have been. What the 80? It must have been. I think I went over 89. Yeah, there would have been some kind of bomb threat was found in. I don't think it's suspect package or whatever. That type of thing.
Your lunch.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm the one with the dodgy lunches.
Yeah, no, but the lads used to, I suppose now, at the clubs, you'll know, day out, a few of the lads used to love it. So no, actually thinking about it now, I would have gone to a couple of meets in England with the players and
team bonding.
Yeah, but it's a long day, Keith. I would have found that a long day now.
Would you?
I like the greyhound race now. That was a bit more of a buzz. No, just because the race,
2 hours.
Yeah, a little bit quick. Every 20 minutes, wasn't it, generally speaking, where the horse race was a little bit more elongate, and the lads would be looking at the form and what you reckon.
No interest.
Yeah, you were looking at the colours thing. That's a nice colour, yeah. Or you go and look at the horse. I mean, I used to go actually watching the horse, and I developed a lot of respect for the riders when I actually saw a horse up close. Sounds an odd thing to say, but just so impressive. Stunning. Beautiful animals, isn't they? But like, just so huge, the size of them. And you look at the jockeys on top, and then you get an appreciation. Hold on, the speed they travel when they come off. You mentioned about Ruby Walsh was the broken leg and stuff. You know, psychologically having to deal with that, get back on a horse and kind of go again. You know, fair play to them. Like,
I think we're going to go to Kevin Kilban. Clip from last night. He was chatting about the national anthem on the basis of the new squad.
You know what as well, and I know that it's keep coming out. I even heard Johnny Ward talking about it the other day, but the anthem has to be a problem for a lot of the players. It has to be, no matter what we all say about this. I always think about myself as a kid, and watching the team in the anthem was such a huge thing prior to the match. Now, a majority of the players that's playing for them that don't want to stand there listen to the national anthem, how can that be the case? Regardless of what we all think or anything, but that can't be right.
And it's an issue that doesn't present itself for Scotland or Wales, regardless of the Scott McTominay situation. There's flair of Scotland and there's land of our fathers for the Welsh, and there's not that confliction that there would be.
Certain players don't want to stand for their anthem, and no matter what we're all going to say, that needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed. It clearly does. So, I mean, that's a side issue. That's maybe something different from me. But I think in general, it's up to the player, isn't it? They're going to get to a stage where they make that decision. If they get the phone call from the FAI, they want to come and play for us. It's a fact. That's the way it is.
I think clearly the next step is that Michael O'Neill needs to come out and explain the rationale and what he was thinking. And maybe it was just a moment of frustration and he was letting off a bit of steam and he didn't expect this to blow up the way it has.
Yeah. Well, Kev's obviously well placed, born in England, in terms of what that would have meant if, you know, playing for Ireland, and he's speaking about the Welsh having their own anthem, the Scottish having their own anthem, but the Northern Irish lads obviously having to sing the English national anthem.
Yeah.
And obviously, as we know, we don't want to get too much into the whole Martin Michael, but this is a separate issue. You can understand it. It's difficult. Like, there's lads growing up playing 15s, 16s, 18s in Northern Ireland, until they kind of come to prominence. We're not really going to know about them down here, and then look, we don't know exactly what's going on in terms of how these players are recruited, but You'd
It's an
imagine it is
interesting
difficult
one.
for them.
Yeah, there's a thin dividing line, Keith, though. I think if you have a young player in Northern Ireland who's got the desire to represent the Republic for kind of obvious reasons which we all know about, I mean, that's fair enough. If his agent, he himself, his family makes an approach to the association, makes contact, look, I'm keen to come, I want to get involved in it. Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the flip side of that, you'll have a situation where representatives of sorts from the Republic will go maybe approach players from Northern Ireland at various levels, 15, 16, 17, maybe some who've already represented the country at underage level. And I think that's where I think it can get a little bit sticky. How aggressive do you get? Now, I've no problem in terms of maybe making contact to a point with a player and say, look, we know you're available to play for the Republic. You know, we're big fans. Look, if you would ever consider...
Where's that point for you? What age?
Oh, well, for me, I've been pretty consistent in terms of if you play competitive under 21 football for a country, that's it. That's the dividing line for me. I have a bit of sympathy for players, generally speaking, not talking the north and the south here. Yeah, underage level, representing 16, 17, then getting to an age, maturing to an age, Keith, 18 years of age, and then suddenly, but your perspective changes. You learn a bit more about yourself, what's important to you, all those stuff. It's just going to grow up a little bit more. You know what I mean? So I'd never be one that says, well, you've played under 16, that's you got to stick with it. But for me, if you represent your country under 21 level, a country, 18, 19 years of age, you're an adult. You know, you've made your decision, and that's pretty much it. To kind of flip back and to, think, right, that hasn't worked out for me. Right, what else is out there?
Welsh have been very proactive in their recruitment of
that's
players
the thing.
as well.
I mean, you can understand
off England, and they've been targeting players very, very young. What they do, I suppose, cleverly is with the likes of Woodburn, Ampadu, they get them involved earlier than even if they're not going to play. They're in the first team squads at the age of 16, 17, and they get that sense of, I'm going to be here for the long haul now. We know about Ampadu, we know about Woodburn. There may well be 5-10 that have fallen by the wayside, but they've been clever.
No, I've no. I've. This is where I've. It starts to rub me up the wrong way a little bit. If you're saying your motivation for bringing players in is almost like, let's get him in, let's get hold of him. It's almost like, let's get hold of him, bring him in. Almost like you're pushed him into a corner, like, I'm a little bit of kabaddi, like you can't get out. That type of thing, you will pray for us. Almost like putting a squeeze on the young fella. We're becoming a little bit strong there. Now, I'm no advocate of that whatsoever. Like, for me, it really has to come from the player. I don't mind to think making contact with the player, but really it's got to be the player who drives. There's got to be a real desire on behalf of the player to go and wear the jersey. Not the other way around. We shouldn't have to make a pitch to a player, any player.
But if we have a player in our 17s, or say 17s for argument's sake, if we have a player in our 17s who we think is outstanding, and he's English born, should our senior team be getting involved in terms of thinking?
No, you only be getting involved if they feel he's good enough to come in as senior, not even international
to
level,
play or to be a part of it.
No,
not even to train.
I like the idea of bringing players in, younger players in, give them a taste of it. Players you think have potential, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, we feel as if they could be ready, but just bring them in, give them a taste of it,
whet their appetite.
Yeah, but that's the motivation behind it, is because meet them to long term. You see him genuinely, see him being good enough, being part of the senior squad. Not, look, this fella's a chance he could jump for England in a year or two. Let's get him in and try and kind of win him over, like make it some kind of pitch to him. I'm no fan of that. A lot of discussion around kind of Declan Rice at the moment, and like I said, the hairs in the back of me neck stand up when I hear people talk about, well, we got to convince him. We got to convince him to play for Ireland. We need him, and this type of thing. We don't want him going anywhere else. Like, you know what I mean? Absolutely no chance. I mean, I've worked with Declan with the under-19s, and I've no question marks about it. For me, he was totally committed when I worked with him with the under-19s. He loved representing Ireland. He loved wearing the jersey. Good. You
had no qualms about him declaring it for Ireland and like playing. He's playing 21s now, playing very well. You had no qualms about his.
No, he's absolutely not whatsoever. No.
There's still doubts on Martin yesterday in his press conference. There's still doubts.
Well, it's simple for me. Declan's represented us at under 19 and under 21 level. So for me, he's committed. And until he tells
Jack
us
Grealish
otherwise,
played for represented us under 19s, under 17s, under 21s, and then his head was torn. Now, I personally think, without actually knowing them, I think they're two very, very different characters, and I'm not so sure Declan Rice's head would be torn in any way.
Well, I don't think so, from what I know. But if his head was torn for any reason, or he had any kind of serious doubts, or maybe he was looking somewhere else, well, he's got to go where his heart. Yeah, dictate. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd be saying to Declan, look, if you're unsure about this, you feel as if your interests are best served anyway. I'm not sure what's going on emotionally inside you, but look, you've got to do what's best for you. Yeah. You know, you're not doing us any favours, thinking as if you're putting on an Ireland jersey. Yeah. And I genuinely don't think that's the case. Jack Grealish made his decision, and good luck to him. I don't want a player representing Ireland putting an Ireland jersey on who's kind of anyway half-hearted in terms of his you
don't have to name names, but did you ever get that sense in certain squads where players came in, they felt like they were half-hearted, they weren't particularly...
No, very few and far between, Keith. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember. There was one or two examples later on. I remember, might have been one example, somebody coming in. There's a couple of examples of people who've played and flipped, isn't there? I mean, there was Alex Bruce came in, was involved, and obviously didn't get the game time he wanted. Suddenly he flipped, and funny enough, he went up to the north in situations like that. But by and large, no, I never sensed that from any player, and I think that's a credit to kind of the atmosphere, the environment which we've created within there. I think once you come in, you get a taste of it. You know, regardless of your connection, whether it's a first, second generation. And I've never had a problem with this. I've had arguments with people, and they throw this at us. Oh, yours, yeah, your grandfather. And I say, well, yeah, grandfather, yeah, that's the connection. Yeah. That's the connection. There's a clear link there, and whether it's his father, grandfather, wherever it is, I don't mind that English-born, American-born, wherever it is, as long as there's a clear connection there. But most importantly, a real kind of desire on behalf of the player, really motivated and determination to go and represent the country. That's what's foremost for me. And as I see it, that's what I see in Declan at the moment. Until he says anyway different, that's what I expect. And I expect if he's naming an international, a competitive game, I expect him to turn up and I expect him to play. And until he tells us otherwise.
Well, let's get on to the squad then. Martin named it yesterday. A few of the elder statesmen haven't been named in it, mainly Glenn Whelan, John O'Shea. We already know Wes is retired, and Daryl Murphy. Darren Randolph not involved, Stephen Ward not involved. Wouldn't read absolutely anything into that. It's top heavy in terms of defenders. I was chatting to Kev about this yesterday.
You never have enough defenders. You never have enough defenders.
I thought you'd be happy. If you actually look at the screen now.
We don't have any forwards in the squad.
We are very, very light up front, so you'll be in your element, won't you?
Yeah, but I'm really, look, Sean McGuire that jumps out off the screen off you there. You're great to see him back. Yeah. So sorry when he picked up that injury.
3 goals in 4 days, straight back in, 2 on his coming back last weekend, and then the winner against Bristol City the other night.
I'm really looking. I know we all know, Keith, that step up in terms of, championship football, in terms of senior international, but it's not unsurmountable. No. And some people make that step up very easily.
League of Ireland to the championship seamlessly, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I like what I see. Sometimes you have to look at his individual attributes, rather than give a real kind of generalisation. The argument kind of, players League of Ireland football, it's a big jump international football. They're not good enough. You very rarely see, generally speaking, players playing a League of Ireland level make that jump up. But yet, if they make the jump to England, how often we see them within 6 months, a year, those players make it. Now, have they made a huge strides forward in that? Probably not, Keith.
I do think he's very different. And I've had this argument because people just assume just because Shawnee has done it that everyone else can do it. But I've seen him playing his second or third last game for Cork against Bray Wanderers. He was playing on a different level to everybody else.
That's what I'm saying. You have to assess each player as individual merits, his different qualities, and whether you feel as if he's capable of making that setup. And I've seen Sean play. I saw him play a couple of times League of Ireland as well, down at Cork, and straight away I thought, movement. Yeah, movement's sharp, great.
Bright.
Yeah, off the shoulder.
Finisher.
Finisher.
Different types
sharp.
of finishes.
Yeah, absolutely. And those kind of attributes for a striker we're talking about. Even at the very top level, international football, you do find yourself, you will get opportunities, and someone of that kind of intelligence, with that kind of good quality movement, good technique, there's always a place for that type of player. So I'm really looking forward. I'm expecting him to get a start. I'd be surprised if he doesn't.
Good. Seamus is back in the squad. He's gone. We've already mentioned about the defenders. 3 right backs: Seamus Coleman, Cyrus Christie, and Matt Doherty, who's having an unbelievable season at Wolves.
You've seen more of him than I have.
Very
left back, right back. He's played.
He played left back last year in the main, didn't he? And he would always cut back in.
Yeah.
I think he's improved defensively. Funny enough, even in the way they're playing, in terms of being very open, being very expansive. Right. He's very attacking. They're full on, but I think defensively his positioning has
Could he play in the back three? Let me ask you that.
I don't think
Matt Doherty, think he's an out and out full back?
I think he's an out and out full back, wing back. But with the 3 right backs, wing backs, and then the 3 left backs, Enda Stevens, Derek Williams, and who else am I missing? Who's the other left back? Who have I missed?
Greg Cunningham.
Greg Cunningham, of course, who's come back from injury and played very well. Do you think there's a chance then he could play 3 at the back?
I'd love to see
with the centre halves he's got as well.
I'm just amazed we haven't seen it in an Ireland team so far, because Martin played for a large chunk of his career. Yeah, but it's easy to say, let's play 3. You need the personnel, whatever system that you play, as you know, you need the players to fit that system.
I think we have it.
That complement it. Well, we certainly have enough. You just mentioned all the kind of centre halves, and be careful when you're talking about like a back 3. Don't believe that they've all got to be centre halves. You must have 3, central defenders. 6'2", your traditional type of centre half.
Derek Williams plays. He plays left back for Blackburn. I watched him play last week with Darragh Lenihan, and Darragh Lenihan as well, another one who's come back from injury, missed a good chunk of the season. He set the tone last week for Blackburn first half. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
His ferocity, his steeliness. He's not the biggest, so again, him not the biggest. Derek Williams played left back, but he played left-sided centre half of a 3 for Bristol City for a good couple of years, and again, not the biggest.
And you haven't even mentioned the likes of Kevin Long. We know Kieran Clark, Shane Duffy, those type of players. And what I like to see out of that 3, for me, I like to see a full back in there, because I feel when that 3 splits across the pitch, you're in possession. I always feel a full back, as opposed to a natural defender in possession of the ball, he's going to be like more efficient in how he uses the ball. Yeah. Probably Azpilicueta at Chelsea was the best example of that. Probably a natural fullback playing in a 3. But how many assists has he got this season? Yeah. Driving into the opposition half the pitch, picking out, crossing, but just always passing forward. Because fullbacks,
you could see Greg Cunningham doing that, couldn't you? Left side of a 3. Left of a 3.
When I first saw, when Greg first came into the squad, that's a few years ago, he was a real attack-minded left back. I looked at him and thought, just offensively, just needs to tidy up his game a little bit.
Has.
Well, I'd lean to you on this.
Yeah,
you
I think
a lot more of him play.
Yeah, I think he has. And Kev, I think, would echo that. Kev would see Preston play.
So we've got the players. When we talk about back 5, and when the wing backs are obviously crucial, we're talking about the back 3. I think we got plenty there. Yeah. Left footers, right footers. Wing backs are absolutely crucial. Probably the most important positions when you play 3 at the back and wing backs. And for me, we've probably got one of the best in the world, Seamus Coleman, at that right back wing back position. And left wing back, for me, I think we got some really good interesting options there. Robbie Brady, we know, has already played in that orthodox position. James McLean, you're talking about Greg Cunningham as well. So that back 5, which is absolutely crucial if you're going to play that, for me, there's real kind of potential there. And playing with the back 3 wing backs, you can probably get 2 up front. You play like
we haven't got lots of options, have we? So it's going to be Shane Long and
another.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is what we're talking about. Sean Maguire, Scott Hogan's run to a little bit of form in terms of
he has to be fair
goals. So let's have a look at them. I'm sure Martin will.
They'll get an opportunity, won't they? Let's go into midfield. Have a look at midfield ahead of that. Again, play the running team here, and I suppose coming into this squad announcement, there's always huge clamour, isn't there? Get young lads through. Get where the 21s, where are the under 19s, where some of them, and the vast majority of them, aren't ready yet, because they're not playing at high enough level at their club consistently to warrant a call up to the Ireland squad, in my opinion. A lot of them. Yeah,
but I see this as different. This next year that we've got, for me, it's a standalone opportunity for me. Generally speaking, that'd be right, because you got an important game coming up very quickly. You can't afford to think too much. There's too much at stake. You're already doing your preparation for the next competitive game. So very difficult to get the players you're talking, maybe a little bit behind the ball, need a little bit more time to develop. So it kind of, you push them to the back, you concentrate what you've got in front of you. But the amount of game time we have between now and the next qualifying campaign next March, I know we've got the kind of League of Nations stuff, and there's a little bit of importance attached to those, but for me that's still an opportunity to integrate. So I think if there's players there, and I'm talking not necessarily talking about the players in the squad, even players a little bit below that. And
you were mentioned before when you're Conor Rowan.
Yeah, I mentioned like Conor Rowan. These are players who many people may not know about. Worked with the under 19s. Jake Doyle-Hayes at Aston Villa, wonderfully talented player. Tyreek Wilson playing just youth football at Manchester. These players who, generally speaking, at the moment saying, not quite ready. But what a great opportunity for us over the next year with the amount of games that we have. Time on the training pitch when Martin will have this week. In the summer, they'll have an elongated period of time. What a great opportunity for us to actually play a part in the development of these players. Where generally you say, well, they got to get that development at their clubs. We've got to wait for them to make the next step.
Take Tyreek
then
Wilson.
We'll take him in.
Take Tyreek Wilson as an example, right? Left back, Man City. I agree in terms of potential and promise. Very, very good, right? Martin O'Neill, will he be here past Euro 2020? I don't think so. So he's looking now at the 3 left back berths, as well as Stephen Ward, not involved in this squad. Yeah. So he's gone Enda Stevens. I think Enda Stevens 27, having a really good season for Sheffield United. Derek Williams, I'm not quite sure they'll be the answer, but he's trialling them, thinking right now and next March, where you're talking about,
Yeah.
they will probably be a better option. I think he's thinking of that rather than.
Yeah,
long term,
I can understand that, and this is like isn't a huge criticism. I just feel as if when this kind of calendar presented itself, I just
was
thought,
an opportunity.
Yeah, but the kind of exposure these younger players, when you're talking about the likes of Tyree, 1 or 2 players like that, in terms of development, it's not just about their like technical
Physically.
abilities, things like that. Even mentally, Keith, in terms of maturity, the kind of confidence level, self-belief, all those type of things. You know, a period of time around the senior international team, you can make huge stride forwards there, working alongside the players, Martin, Roy, leaning on them, their experience.
I think sometimes it can be detrimental to the development, though, because as soon as they're called into the Ireland first team squad, senior squad, the spotlight is on them. As soon as they go back to their club, then we're watching everything they do, every single. We've seen the likes of Jack Byrne come into the squad, fall by the wayside. He's going to have to reinvent himself now at Oldham. We've seen it with Conor Clifford years ago, came into the squad when I was still involved. And again, as soon as they're in, it's just mass pressure on them. So it's a fine line. And so I agree. I would like some of them to be involved, but I can understand.
You learn a bit, and that kind of pressure, you bring them into a slightly more pressurised environment, because you're looking at them, how do they cope with it. Those games coming up in September, October, there's a degree of importance, pressure attached to them in terms of the ranking. So even seeing them potentially involved in that, you know what I mean? How do they cope with that? Some will maybe struggle with it, you know, take a big step backwards. And you're right, then maybe you might have, well, they're not quite ready yet, their time will come again. Others will just embrace it, Keith. They'll absolutely love it. They'll revel in it, and they'll actually surprise you. And these type of players you're talking about, they're not quite ready. Next 2-3 years, qualifying come in after that. All of a sudden, you're looking at them in the space of a couple of squads, a couple of months, thinking, hold on, this young fella surprised me.
Ready now.
What? Yeah. All of a sudden, you got 2 or 3 players you weren't expecting have actually pushed themselves to the forefront. So again, this is like a criticism of any shape or form. I suppose I'm looking for everything. I think the lads are in the squad at the moment. Good luck to them. They've earned their chance, and I hope they get opportunities. At the same time, there's some real talented players just below that.
Yeah, I agree with you. But where I was getting to was that I think coming into this kind of opportunity, this phase, this transitional period, whatever you want to call it, I'm looking at the players that he could potentially pick up, and I did think they were going to be around the age of 23, 25. It could be some in their late 20s. I think Alan Judge is 30 now. Come back. He's had a really bad injury really bad luck with injury. Alan Brown, another one at Preston, really good season and deserves a call up now. Not playing, and Kev didn't like this yesterday, not playing for the most fashionable club at Preston, not maybe the most glamorous style of player, but can be very, very effective. If anything, I would liken him to a Jeff Hendrick in terms of his style, if anybody hasn't seen him play. But very much deserves his call-up. Liam Kelly at Reading hasn't had a great season.
So you're talking about
Reading.
the here and the now, really, in terms of, you know, them getting players ready, match ready, in terms of what's coming down the road next in a year's time.
In a year's time,
but I think as a manager, you've always got, I know Martin's only got a 2 year, but I think regardless of what length of contract you have, whether it's a 1 year rolling contract, 2, 4, 6, for me, I think there's all obligation's the right word in terms of looking what's the kids there in terms of what's ahead. Maybe looking at the picture around the Ireland International. Maybe when you're not there, when you step away, what are you leaving behind you? You know what I mean? You've got to be leaving the team in a good state in terms of going forward. So you're handing the baton to the next man, saying, well, look, there you go. I'm not handing you an aging squad that needs a massive amount of upheaval. I've actually done half your job for you. I've integrated a number of team into players.
That's not even on his agenda, I don't think.
Oh well, I don't know. I'll be surprised, like, because as a manager, as a coach, that's got to be the biggest satisfaction of all. You know, we've just basically dipped our toe in the water in terms of coaching, and we've worked a little bit underage level. But for me, there's a huge amount of satisfaction in that, playing a part in younger players and their development, bringing them on, even into the senior international setup. Like, you know, being really hands-on in developing these players and bringing them through. That must be a huge filler as a coach, as a manager, to feel as if you've played an active role in developing some of these young players from their point of view, and from the bigger picture in terms of the country, your responsibility to the team, and in terms of leaving the team in a better position, in a better place than they were maybe when you came in.
I'm not sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't think that's
probably more of a rounded
at all. I think that his absolute only concern is results.
Yeah, I can understand. We know that we've been in the results game all our career, but I suppose being greedy
You want more.
Yeah, I'm looking for everything, I suppose, being greedy, and that's not easy.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to manage. Particularly at international level, the time that you have with the players, but that would be the ideal for me, because young Irish talent, Keith, is something we've lacked of, and I've never been a believer of this kind of negativity, downplaying in terms of where's the next generation. You just don't have the talent. Always been there for me, Keith, and the experience we've had of late in the underage level and seeing the players up close, it's there, Keith. Yeah. Some exceptional play. Young players need to learn, don't know enough about the game. They're raw, they're unpolished, but the talent pool is there. Yeah. We've just got to tap into it, recognise it and develop it and bring it on.
Yeah, it's probably something we can get into more, and we need to move on to a bit of Arsenal and a bit of Man U, Liverpool, but we can only do so much as international coaches, whether it be senior, and even probably more so 21s, 19s, 17s, because we speak about the time we have with them. It's so minimal, isn't it, in the grand scheme of things? It depends on what they are doing and how they develop at club level, the opportunities they get, how they progress.
Yeah. Still a big part of it,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's still a big part of it. It is a problem for those players, kids 18 coming out of youth football now in England, that kind of talent pool we're talking about. Where's the next step for them? Is it into under 23 football in England? Yeah, that's an obvious thing to say, but are they playing? Are a lot of them players playing regularly under 23? Some aren't, Keith.
No, I know.
Some are struggling to get in a game every 2 or 3 weeks. Well, that's not good.
No.
They need to be stepping up, getting more games. They need to be hungry for game time, and they're not getting it. They're stepping aside and put out on loan. Are they being put in the right environment when they're being put on loan to different clubs? If I was a manager at a football club in England, the last thing I'd want to do would be to push my young talent out the door and give responsibility to another manager, another coach in another football club to develop my young players. I'd want them I'd be pulling them young kids closer. I'd want to be around them every day. I'd want to be on top of them, actually pushing them around the place and have them play an active role in their development on the training pitch on a day-to-day basis. That's just as important, working with the players on the training pitch Monday to Friday, rather than maybe that kind of 60 or 90 minutes which they get off competitive football, which they're getting on the Saturday. I think people don't realise the significance of that. For me, it's more important to have those players close during the week than it is to see them playing football, Div 1, Div 2 football in an environment which are unsure of coaches, which you don't exactly how good they are, what kind of coach and what kind of education that they're actually getting. Again, that's probably a conversation again for another day, but you're right, and the basic point you're making in terms of how they're developing the game time that they're actually getting, it is a problem.
Versus country, I know. Listen, we'll move on. We're going to chat about Man U, Liverpool on
got my glasses on. I've just become conscious of my glasses. I put them on, didn't realise.
I like it. I'm just trying to get you to wear them on air. You don't wear them. Why don't you wear them? They suit you.
I need to. I'm perilously close now. Perilously close to wearing them. I am really struggling. You know when you start printing a bold print, not one or two small bullet points. I don't write a lot. Occasionally saying things. When the letters are that big on the page, you haven't to write them that big. You're struggling.
Right, everybody, you mentioned Chris Sutton was in the studio with us the other night. He fancies Liverpool to just blitz them away. Liverpool, we speak about their chances in the Champions League. I think they've got a very good chance, and I think you agree with that as well. The fact that teams will come out in the last day, quarters, maybe semis, and they'll go head to head, they'll go toe to toe with Liverpool, and I think that suits Liverpool when a game's open, when there's space in behind for the likes of Salah, Mane to run in behind. That suits them. At times they've struggled to break teams down. Now, will Mourinho on Saturday, will he play it like an away game? Will he play it like Mourinho does? Will he sit back? Will he be pragmatic as we expect him to be? Will he be ultra negative?
Yeah, Manchester United, the perception is they play like that, and they do to a large extent. They don't dominate possession of the football as they have done previously, particularly against the bigger teams. I don't think that's particularly a tactic from Mourinho. That's just the players that he has at the moment in terms of their ability. Yeah, their ability to retain possession and dominate and play a possession-based game, Keith. They're not capable of doing that unless Pogba's on his A game.
Don't get on to him, Ken.
No, but unless he's on his A game, Keith, and getting on the ball and keeping possession and working it around the pitch and moving the team up the pitch. Nobody else can do it. Matic is efficient enough in terms of getting and keeping it simple.
Before we even get into the personnel, should they be a possession-based team, or not even possession-based? Should they be able to do that with the money you spent over the last couple of years?
Well, it depends what you want. If you want, I'm not one of these people. I'm not even a supporter who wants to see me team necessarily dominate possession of the football. I want to see me team spend the majority of the game in the opposition half, particularly the last third of the pitch, creating chances. Now,
they don't against the top 6 teams.
No, they haven't done particularly. Like, but how do you do it? Do you do that by more of a possession-based game, working your way up the pitch, or do you do it by going a little bit back to
More
front?
direct.
Yeah, for me, I'm not particularly bothered how you do that, but you need to get the ball in the key areas of the pitch, get crosses, little combinations on the edge of the box, and get your shots in target. Your centre forward needs to have a certain amount of touches. Your forward players in the opposition penalty box. So Manchester United are a little bit off that. There's no doubt about it. And Liverpool, in terms of the form that they're in, I understand there's a perception out there they're having a better chance to go and really turn United over at Old Trafford, but I certainly wouldn't be dismissing Mourinho's team. I think they're capable of soaking up pressure to a certain extent, and they can. You're talking about Liverpool counter-attack. Manchester United can counter-attack as long as he gets the right players. I mean, you're not going to counter-attack with Mata.
Who do you play wide then? Do you play obviously Sanchez? You'd imagine will
I wouldn't say obviously Sanchez. You saw the problem at Crystal Palace.
I think he'll start.
I think he'll start, but it's getting personally close to
not playing him.
Exactly. Particularly if he's going to set up. People talking about Pogba's best position. Pogba's best position is left of a three in midfield, where we know that. However, if you're going to play a player at left wing who's going to come in and play in an area of the pitch where you're asking Pogba
like Martial maybe
to operate, you look at Manchester City play, operate the exact same way. Fernandino sitting, Silva and De Bruyne. What does Guardiola ask his two wingers to do?
Sterling, Sané, wide.
Yeah. Stretch that opposition back forward across the pitch. Make those spaces, those little pockets on the inside where De Bruyne and Silva
is able to roam and
receive
play
the ball.
and probe.
You never see Sané come in and take De Bruyne's space, or likewise Sterling on the other side, because it's nailed down on the training pitch. They understand their role. When I saw Sanchez play the other night, I was looking at Mourinho saying, you must have had this conversation. When you're asking Pogba to operate now these areas higher up the pitch where we want to see him, don't allow your winger to come in and start taking his space and playing on each other's toes and congesting that area of the pitch. So I'm looking at Mourinho here thinking, this is interesting. Either Sanchez has to modify his game and play as Rashford played when he came on, play a little bit wider, look to play on the outside a little bit more. Well, if not, he's going to have to change it. He's going to have to get him out of the team. He's going to have to find a different position for Pogba.
He's taking 500 grand out of the team, is he? A week.
Well, this is it. And this is the problem he's brought on himself.
He threw his toys out of the pram, I think, to get Sanchez, because we all just assumed he was going to Manchester City. They come in late. If you remember as well, in the build-up to that kind of January transfer window, Mourinho was saying, I don't get the money, we can't compete, blah, blah, blah. Next of all, he ends up at Manchester United. And he's only gone to Manchester United for one reason, because he's been absolutely weighed in.
I never bought into it was PR for me, not all PR. He's a very good player. Are they stronger with Sanchez in the squad? On the surface, But for me, Manchester City did not need Sanchez. Leroy Sané, the level he's playing at, the type of play he's developing into, he needs more time on the pitch, not less on the bench looking at Sanchez operating in the way that we've seen him of late for Manchester United. And then, did Manchester United need a player left of a three up front? Were they seriously screaming out for a player to play in that area of the pitch when they've been dovetailing between Martial and Rashford for the majority of the season? Not for me. And then you're talking about bringing a player on the wages that he's on. And you know, Keith, how dressing rooms operate. That would create a huge ripple.
Well, there's a bit of talk
money,
of Pogba, maybe his nose been put out of joints.
The guy's agent wouldn't have been doing his job if he hadn't been banging on the door of Ed Woodward a week after that signing, saying, listen, we've got to sit down and talk. Now, my player needs to be brought up to the level.
See that offer we were talking about, 250 grand a week, well, that's just doubled, hasn't it?
Without a doubt. So people say, it's a relatively cheap deal bringing Sanchez in, but what they don't realise is, in effect, that's going to cost them twice, three times more. It's going to be multiplied, magnified because of that. Because those type of players, when their contracts come up, are going to be going in and saying, hold, you've set the level now, we need to be brought up. Well, maybe not on parity, but certainly up closer to that figure. So I think, to a small extent, he's brought some problems on himself, Mourinho, from a footballing point of view, in terms of the type of player Sanchez is, but also in terms of that ripple effect, in terms of the kind of waves that he's brought, and even I'd suggest personality. That he's an angry ant. He's an angry ant. We've all played with him. I'm telling you, he used to mope. Wenger couldn't take him.
Who was the worst one you played with?
No, I'm not going to name him.
Well, okay, just say.
No. I didn't mind the moaner. I didn't mind him. I've heard you're a moaner. I'm going to go on record now. We didn't play together. No, we moaner. Yeah, on your hands up. Oh yeah, you're a bit of an angry ant. I've heard that. I didn't mind that type of play. You couldn't have too many of them. Couldn't have had three Keith Andrews in the dressing room. That's a fact. The whole thing would have splintered.
Two.
But But I didn't mind that somebody, that little bit of a miserable chin, always having a moan up, you know what I mean? I quite actually like that type of character. But I think that type of character works in the dressing room. But someone like him on the pitch, Sanchez come off, we need to make chin on the floor, big massive strap on, that type of, that's not good, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, well listen, we're going to be talking rugby in a few minutes. My old school pal James Downey, but first here's a flavour of AP McCoy yesterday on the Keith Andrews show.
I had this goal, this was my target. I didn't want to be a sports person that someone said he's not as good as he once was, and I was that kind of person that I never cared what anyone was. I was actually making sure that I wasn't saying to myself, you're not as good as you once were. You know, I didn't want that to happen. I used the excuse that I didn't want people to think he's not as good as he was, but I didn't want myself to ever think that I wasn't as good. I didn't want to get to a point halfway through the season and think, you're gone. You know, you haven't got it anymore.
So it was important for you to go out on a high.
So it was important to go out. So I told him, and he said, look, you've got to think about these things. And I at the beginning of that year, I rode my fastest 50th winner ever in a season. I rode my fastest 100th winner in a season. I came home that night, and I said to my wife, and she heard it in the Guy Sports newsroom that I'd ridden my 100 winner, fastest 100 winner. And she goes, oh, it's amazing. You know, I said, you know, I said, you know what, Sinead? I said, I actually think I'm getting better.
Did you say that to her?
Yeah. I said, I think this is the first time in my life that I actually think I know I actually think I've got it. I know what I'm doing. And she looked at me and think, you psycho. and she actually genuinely looked at me thinking, you're a psycho. And I genuinely, because statistically I felt like I had.
Yeah.
You know, I'd spent 20 years.
But you thought after 19 years of being champion jockey, now I've got it right.
Yeah, now I've got it right. And
Do you get out? Would you?
Lads, we're back. Kenny's running amok here. Nice to have you in, pal.
Good to be here.
We haven't sat this close in a while.
No, thank God. Well, since been on a plane, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, bumped into 3 years ago. Kenny's all excited now. Look.
Team's coming to tease the crowd. I feel like I've introduced your matchmakers. I should leave the room.
Feel a bit awkward. Myself and James went to school together in a school we're in Mourinho, and until you went off to rugby schools and left us.
I did, yeah.
Left us in Gaelic land. There was no. I don't even like saying soccer, but you have to as soon as you say Gaelic, don't you? There was no soccer allowed in our school. Well, in the yard there was, but you went off to rugby ventures, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Changed up schools.
Bigger and better things.
Exactly, yeah. It was I was kind of going. I was brutal at soccer, so I was like, well, it's either rugby and
in good company. You.
We all found it late in life.
Stop him making a career, professional football.
I got there in that way as well, so. Yeah, late bloomer, so yeah. It was good. Yeah. Good times, good school.
It was a good school. I was back there a couple of weeks ago actually doing a little thing for another. That was the first time they've ever had a football competition in the school. I'll give them a little plug actually. It was Spar Fives, National Fives. So it was surreal.
He loves a little plug.
Literally hasn't changed at all. Have you been back at all?
No, not since at all. Now I was actually thinking we have a couple of Tomas Quinn as well, Mossy, in our year as well. So
yeah.
All right, that was a decent one.
Mossy was supposed to be in this morning, but we had to take Kenny, obviously. You know.
Take what you can get.
We just heard from AP McCoy. Had him in yesterday. He was chatting a little bit there about he basically was champion jockey 20 years in a row, right? And he was telling a story about 19 years in. He felt like he'd cracked it. He kind of went on. He's gone, yeah, I think I know how to do this now. I don't think I've ever met a sportsman as devoted, as intense.
Yeah.
As he was. Like, you would have been very intense. Like, I never played with you, and I'd say you would have been very intense, but this
no, not particularly key, to be honest with you. But he
basically starved himself for 20 years.
Oh well, yeah, but that's
crazy, the dedication they put into it.
That's a totally different level, James, in terms of like your physical condition, and it's not just about how you train when you win the confines of the training ground in terms of gym work and the whole shebang.
You do when you go
home.
it's
your diet, but like you're saying, the heart. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Like, there's almost it brings in like almost like mental health issues, like in terms of like saying actually have to starve your body. Like, that must be a difficult kind of process to go through. Like, you know what I mean? And we have to be careful in terms of diet.
A little bit careful.
I mean, I was a big sweet tooth, as you know. I I never lost. I could never turn down an apple crumble now in custard when even the even the team hotel. I'll be bribing the waitresses like team hotels on a Friday night.
You never had butter though. You wouldn't have butter, would you?
That's the good stuff. You're leaving out the good stuff.
Kerrygold, no?
Yeah, but there was love me, Kerry. I got shares. I got shares in Kerrygold. I'm the biggest shareholder in Kerrygold at the moment.
He was definitely scraping the apple crumble off the top as well, leaving the apple, wasn't he?
But look, it got to the stage the staff used to get involved when the dietitians started coming. They used to dictate what food. It wasn't a case of big carvery job go up and help.
How did you take that?
Oh yeah, but when the dessert trolley used to come, it was like a rice pudding, it was a fruit cock. Disgusting it was, you know what I mean? So I'd literally have to, it cost one of the girls out and they coming out, the kids said, look after me.
Night before the game?
Night before, absolutely.
It has to be said.
Apple crumble and custard, apple crumble and custard.
But you'd be surprised, even in rugby, like you'd have pre-match, you'd have like your ice creams, day of a game, pre-match meal.
Oh, you would?
Absolutely.
Ice cream?
Absolutely, yeah. A bit of chocolate, get the sugars going, yeah. On the bench as well, you still, sometimes in the clubs, you'd have the youngest lad will bring along they'll pick a mix on the bench, get the sugars into you.
Really?
But do you not think, James, there's like a psychological aspect to this? I had a conversation with somebody some time ago in terms that, there might be certain foods, you break them down, from a dietary point of view, probably not the greatest thing, but in terms of the night before, you've been so dedicated in terms of your food. Just the fact that a bit of ice cream, maybe what it is, a jam roly-poly, whatever it is, just psychologically, that type of food, to really enjoy something, really kind of enjoy it in terms of what you're losing. In terms of what you're losing and what you're actually gaining, the enjoyment. You know what I mean? That's an interesting one.
Chips off the menu at Old Trafford, didn't he? When he went, he did.
Yeah, he did. I know.
So he's like, hang on a minute. It was a bit of a tradition here. We have chips on a Friday night.
Yeah, I can understand that. People might laugh at that, but it is. I think that is a factor. Like, and that's good management for me. The managers who can recognise that and actually.
It wasn't from David Moyes.
Well, no, I don't think that was what cost him his job. Like, no chips on the menu on Friday. I'm going to be honest with you.
The chips. Players revolt.
Yeah.
We're going to go to another AP video from yesterday. He's talking a little bit about Messi and Ronaldo, and I'll ask the lads when he comes back which their favourite is.
Who's your favourite?
I'll tell you who I think my favourite footballer of all time was. I'd love to say George Best. I met him a few times, and he was a little bit of a legend, or Liam Brady. I honestly think that what Diego Maradona did to win a World Cup with Argentina, pretty much on his own, was, and it's not because Messi hasn't won the World Cup, but what he did at Napoli to win Serie A when Serie A was probably the best league in the world. It was probably a better league than La Liga is now, or the Premier League. You know, he won at Serie A with Napoli when they never looked like winning a game of football beforehand. They're a little bit better recently, but they haven't won a Serie A since. He won Serie A on his own as a footballer, and I don't care what anyone says. That, you know, not just because he did it on an international stage, but he did it
domestically as well.
Did it domestically, and look, people would, you know, you speak about Ronaldo. Diego Maradona looked at everything that a professional footballer, you know, he shouldn't. But in terms of an achievement, you know, I think, and you can talk about Pelé, who played in the great teams, or George Best, but he genuinely, I think, won two championships. He won a World Cup in a team that he carried, and he won a domestic title with a team that was in the best league in the world at the time on his own, and he proved it because they've never won before or since. You know, you look at the Manchester United, to the Real Madrid, to the Barcelonas, they've all
gifted individuals, or
as teams.
Yeah.
So
you got Maradona.
Who's my favourite, Ronaldo or Messi?
You evaded that one quite nicely, actually.
I did. Who's my favourite? Who would you? I wouldn't have a clue. It's not
split.
It's not fair, you know.
Yeah.
Messi can do things with a ball that, you know, you see him dribbling around it. Like Ronaldo scores great headers, and he, you know, but Messi can dribble from one end of the football pitch to the other and still score. If you got a selection of their 10 best goals, Messi's best 10 goals would be better than Ronaldo's best 10 goals.
Well, I'm Messi anyway, but listen, we're going to move things on now away from football, away from horse racing. Going to hear from Eddie O'Sullivan, who's also on a jolly up in New York with the lads.
All right, we're here at Madison Square Garden, as you can see, in downtown New York, and happy to be here and discussing rugby. We've got all sorts of things going on. Good evening, how's it going? Yeah. Happy days?
Yeah. I give you some hellos to my people of the ball.com. They are the best. You gotta understand.
This man knows his stuff. Good stuff. All right, listen, thanks for that.
Good stuff today.
Cheers.
Yeah,
cheers. Excellent.
Hey,
so, yeah, we're going to talk Ireland, Scotland.
Thank you.
Anyway. Thank you.
Okay.
So we are, it turns out, Eddie, we are actually in New York.
Let's do that again.
They don't tend to mind their own business,
Adrian,
do they?
let's just do that one again.
Really?
It was good and all, but let's just get it. Let's just get a clean version as well.
I would run with that. All right, it's off the ball. We're here at Madison Square Garden. This is take two because we've just had somebody sort of come and interrupt the conversation. Eddie, we're in New York. This is what tends to happen.
We're definitely live, that's for sure.
Right, it's Six Nations weekend. It's a massive weekend, and we have come to New York not just to do a preview piece with Eddie O'Sullivan, as attractive a proposition as that is, but we were here to talk Rugby United New York, which is a new club that's setting up with the ambition to get involved with the MLR. Eddie, you are involved with them. What is your involvement?
It's very vague at the moment. I mean, I know James Kennedy a few months. I spoke to him in Dublin before Christmas. Had 4 or 5 phone calls, and I come over this weekend for the launch. But it's mainly about strategics, setting up an academy, outreaching to the high schools and colleges. So I'm not involved in the coaching end of it. That's already all buttoned up. So I'm just giving them advice on some kind of blueprint for, establishing what it effectively means for them is sustainability in the city here in terms of building a community around the club. So it's a long-term thing. But I enjoy that side of the game as well. So I've had a few good conversations with James, and I'm going to talk to him more over the weekend.
Good, yeah. Well, no better man to know stuff about rugby over this part of the world. Let's talk about rugby over the other part of the world now for a few minutes if we can, because obviously we're on the eve of the big Six Nations games this weekend, particularly Ireland, Scotland. And I did wonder if you were a coach, Eddie, just the Scotland result in the previous round and the impact that will have in Scotland, and how that would motivate you or dictate your plans to a degree almost if you're the Ireland coach this weekend.
I think in some ways Scotland beating England is a good thing for us, because had England put them to the sword comfortably, there would be a sense that there's nothing to worry about here. I think the fact they beat England gets everybody's kind of head in the right space, because I think last year we lost in Edinburgh. The last time we lost them was 2010. If you look at the post-match debates after those, it was about Ireland not delivering, not performing, coming up short, getting ambushed. And I think the only way we get beaten tomorrow is if Scotland come to Dublin and ambush us. And I don't see it happening. I think we're forewarned as forearmed. Did they ambushed England? They're not going to get 2 ambushes off. We still have to go out and beat them, but I think we're not going to get caught like we did last year.
One of the changes that was enforced, that probably the biggest talking point from the team selection, was the inclusion of Gary Ringrose.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious, maybe in a lot of ways the options are pretty narrow at that point, but I mean, he was a guy that was been spoken about. If he'd been fit in the last round, he probably would have got in there ahead of Farrell.
Well, if he was fit even at the start of the year, he'd probably be in for the off. So it's probably straightened the midfield. The only question mark is that a lot of rugby played coming in a bit cold into it, but watching him over his career so far, which isn't very long, but he tends to hit the ground pretty well. He's not a power player. He's just a very elusive and fast over the first few metres. Very smart, doesn't make mistakes. I think the hallmark of his performances for Ireland really has not been huge standout moments, but huge consistency. And I think tomorrow that's the key for him, a good consistent game. It's interesting, I think maybe Ireland have a little more options with him at 13. They can play maybe a bit wider than they might have with Farrell. It'll be interesting to see what Joe Schmidt comes up with. I think he's got
why is that?
Well, I think Ringrose gives you an option at outside centre. He's more of a run and pass type of player. I think Farrell is more of a trucker, and I think that's what he was used for against Wales, and very successfully. The question for Joe Schmidt is, does he want to open up the game like that against Scotland? I know he talked yesterday about people kind of boxing Ireland into a very direct team, but I think they did that very well against Wales, and I think they've got to have a similar headset against Scotland. We don't want to loosen up that game too much against Scotland, but we do have to think about moving the strike point and not giving Scotland some kind of heads up or predictability where we attack, because what they did and in front Wales didn't do is they'll attack the ruck. They attacked the ruck in Murrayfield last year. They attacked the ruck last week in England against England very successfully. They will attack the ruck tomorrow, and if we don't have a plan for that, and I'm sure we have, then that could be making it a game that could be very sticky to get out of. But I think if our ruck is good tomorrow, we'll build pressure and we'll score tries. Will we defend? Well, that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's another discussion. We saw a slightly different game from Johnny Sexton against Wales. He took the ball on and off, not more, was sort of keen enough to get involved, take on the line.
Well, he latched onto one for a try. You'd rarely see a fly half latching onto a forward scoring.
But I wondered how much of the absence of Henshaw was to do with that, and maybe your explanation about Farrell being the trucking player maybe dictated some of that. And I also wonder then if we're going to see, with Ringrose there now, we're going to see any more of that from Sexton.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's ever a great idea for your 10 to be in contact a lot because your playmaker's off his feet.
Gets sucked in.
But he's that kind of player, Johnny. Let's be fair to him. He's a very aggressive player and he likes to get involved. And there was talks of him going into the game injured. He didn't play like he was injured. He missed a couple of kicks. I'm saying, oh, he's back, he's injured. But if you've an injured back, you're not latching on.
It was nothing. It was a bit of a twinge.
No, I think it made no difference. But I think in terms of the midfield partnership, the midfield partnership of Bundyaki and Farrell is probably the biggest central partnership we've ever put together. Now, Ringrose changes that dynamic. He's a very elusive player. He's dangerous in that outside channel. He's a good distributor. And maybe Joe Schmidt will bring that, extra dimension into their game. He maybe alluded to that prematurely by saying that we're not a one-trick pony. We don't always play direct. Maybe he's leaning towards that against Scotland a little bit. But they've got to be careful. Scotland want that loose game, speed it up, throw it around. We don't want that.
One of the other things that interested me at the team selection was that Ian Henderson is on the bench, and Joe doesn't tend to pick, even on the bench, unfit players. And I would have assumed that he was first pick, second row.
I think there's a factor there in that maybe the line-out. The line-out didn't fire well last year against Scotland, and he knows Devon is a banker. And certainly the combination of Ryan and Henderson in the second row gives you what we call tweeners in the back five, fellas who are second rows but play like back rows. They carry a lot of ball and make a lot of tackles. But what you're getting there, you're trading off is maybe less security in the lineouts. But Toner in the lineout is a banker every time. You can go to him, even when we're under pressure, you can throw to Devon, he's going to catch the ball. So maybe he's just locking down the lineout a bit. Maybe that was an area last year where he saw that came unstuck a few times. We don't want to give him that in on Saturday.
Courses for courses almost in some ways.
Yeah.
I don't know how many sort of twists and turns we've left finally as we wrap up here from this beautiful setting. How many twists and turns are left in the Six Nations, but in terms of the championship, I'm not going to ask you about the Grand Slam, but where do you think the championship is going from what you've seen so far?
I actually quite confident if we get it right tomorrow we'll get a bonus point because we're scoring tries, and nobody said we get a bonus point against Wales, but we did and we deserved it. So I think we get the bonus point, and I think England won't get the bonus point. I have a feeling we could be champions tomorrow night, and then it'll be about whether we want to put the cherry on the cake the following week in Twickenham, which is going to be a very different prospect. But I think England will win. I think they probably won't get the bonus point in France because they'll probably just choke France out, use their ill discipline and kick a lot of penalties. I don't think it'll be a game where there'll be a lot of tries in it, but we'll see. But I have a feeling we could be there tomorrow night, all going to plan.
I think we take that and then sort of worry about the motivation of England afterwards.
Absolutely.
Never going to be an issue. All right, that's it. Thanks a million, Eddie. Pleasure as always. Eddie O'Sullivan live from Madison Square Garden. Cheers.
Intriguing stuff there from Eddie. So tomorrow, talk me through. You've got two novices here in terms of it. We're obviously engrossed in the Six Nations. I think myself and Kenny would agree. Anything when it comes to certain teams and they do well. Obviously Ireland, the Lions, the provinces. We're always interested. What are you expecting tomorrow from Scotland though? After that unbelievable victory they had over England.
Yeah, with Scotland, it's one of these scenarios where you don't know what you're going to get sometimes. At the start of the year, Evan had predicted that they were going to produce this free-flowing rugby, this attacking style that Gregor Townsend had brought with Glasgow. And I think you've actually seen that against the Welsh, they just didn't step up to the mark, and the Welsh actually produced a ridiculous performance, to be honest. And it's a case of now Scotland, you can up their game for one game. I was talking to Kenny off air, they're just talking about like you can produce for these big games, these one-off scenarios, and I think Scotland, Calcutta Cup at home in Murrayfield, they needed a big performance and they got it. This weekend's a different scenario. I think it's an away from home a game, and it's a daunting prospect for them, to be honest. I think you can produce decent games at home, but they're a decent side.
Their away form's not good though, is it?
It's not great at all, to be honest. I think they've won once in the Six Nations away from home, and that's against Italy. It's something that Gregor Townsend certainly mentioned in the papers this week about an area of focus for them is to actually produce a decent away performance. I think they'll produce a decent away performance, but they're going to have to produce an even better one than they did against England, which is saying something. That's a compliment to the way Ireland are playing.
He's a coach, quite well, isn't he, Gregor Townsend? What's he like?
Yeah, no, he's a very learned coach. He's a guy who wouldn't set a stall out and say, right, this is the way I'm going to coach, and that's the way it is. He will go and he will educate himself. So he was going into New Zealand. He was going to Leinster with Joe Schmidt, so he'd go and watch their training and take little snippets, and he's always learning. He's constantly learning. So they know each other well, Joe and Gregor, and he's just one of these innovative coaches now that, he likes to play an attacking brand of rugby, which is great, and you can see the way Glasgow have played, and he's trying to implement this into how Scotland are playing. So,
but that suit us, James, in terms of their approach, their style of play. In terms, we're pretty consistent in terms. It seems to be anyway in terms of how we approach most games from a tactical point of view.
Tactically, I don't know. I think the way Scotland can do it, Scotland like to play a wide game, okay, and the way we've been playing recently, we have quite a narrow defence, you know, and we've been comfortable in games, but then at the last 10-15 minutes we've let teams back into it, concentration lapse, and teams have gotten us out wide with quick ball, and that's where we kind of struggle in that regard. So against Scotland we've got to be very wary. I think we can frustrate them.
Be one in particular.
Yeah, Finn is one of these. I know the word's been branded around these mercurial 10s. He's a very relaxed guy. You know, he's one of these guys who, in the warm up, will have his headphones on, walk around like he dances.
We were chatting about that earlier, weren't we? In terms of people not being quite focused on it. Again, we were talking about a player last night for Arsenal, Maitland-Niles, and we were saying like comes on, he's just like, so he's just horizontal.
Yeah.
Is he like that?
Completely. Like he'll walk around pre-match and he'll have his headphones on. And he'll be dancing. He'll be actually just dancing, and you're kind of looking at him, going, "What's this young lad at?" Like, you know. But then that's the way he plays, and he's, you know, there's no belt on him to try and keep him in, keep him tight. He can go out and do what he wants to do. But he's one of these lads who Ireland can get to as well. On the flip side,
Would we have to modify our game, James, somewhat because of the abilities, just that one player, his individual abilities? Would we have to just tweak our game accordingly? Would Smith do that in terms of? I always hear about the attention to detail in terms of how we do prepare.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think he's certainly one that we can actually get at, and he'll go right. Look, he's a pivotal playmaker for them, and he's one of these guys who's going to pull all the strings. He's got all the ranges. He can chip, he can carry ball. He's got a long pass, as he threw against England, one of the best passes I've seen. And he just has that ability to attack the line. But on the flip side of that, you can get at him, you can frustrate him, you can put him off his game. And if Ireland can do that, and I think they've picked a decent enough side, especially in back row now, to actually get at him and frustrate him. And if he's one of these players, if he's off his game, he can go quiet and go missing.
Right.
But if he's on the front foot, then Ireland might struggle. Yeah, exactly. And like he's got one of these players, and he's got such a wide range of passing and kicking that the Irish boys are going to be on their toes. And
I think that's a type of player, regardless of what sport you're talking about, football would be the same, the type of player you can't quite pigeonhole, almost like an instinctive player. You're never quite sure. You prepared as best you can, but at any given moment, he can do something against the ground, which kind of catches you by surprise.
Someone like that I feel, and again, you're talking to two novices here, but I look at someone like Johnny Sexton, and the way Ireland are set up to play, their style has had a lot of criticism, which we'll chat to you a little bit about. But with Johnny Sexton in particular, go back to that game against Wales, misses the kicks, shows the kind of the balls to be able to deal with that, no problem. And his general game, you felt like he was trying to make things happen even more so. And when he was a little bit more instinctive, like you were talking about, he played better for me.
Yeah, but he's one of these players who can be controlled. You know, he manages the game, controls the game. But then, okay, if his basics of, say, okay, his kicking, we'd expect him to get a lot of these kicks and get these points. But if they're off sync, he wants to be involved. He wants something to happen. He's not going to shirk and stand back and go, okay, well, that's not working, that's me, you know. It's like, well, no, if that's not working, we'll find another area, another focus that we can...
Take responsibility.
Exactly. And step up and go, I'm going to take this forward. He was carrying ball, he was hitting rucks, you know, and he was making things happen. You can see how passionate he was. And as you say, taking that responsibility, going, right, I'm going to lead it. If I'm off here, I'll be on here. And he's got that variety to his game, which is brilliant, you know, and people can pigeonhole him and say, he's safe and he does this, but he's not. He brings an awful lot, you know.
Tyke Furlong missed the game against Wales with a hamstring injury. Are you surprised? Is there an element of risk? I'm sure there isn't with the medical side and what the rigmarole they go through to ensure they're ready. But do we need to risk him this week with Twickenham on the horizon next week?
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to risk him. I think it's a case of, I think we should, you know.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I think the Scottish have a decent enough scrum. I think we can take them up front. Obviously, again, what you said, the medical team are going to put him through that test, you know. I think it can be back running fine, but they would have had to have a couple of scrums, putting that pressure through that guy, test his back, test his hammy. I think it's especially through the back and all that weight and that force coming onto him is really going to test that hamstring. But no, to have him back is brilliant. I think Andrew Porter stepped up immensely well last year. He replaced him. Had a great game again. But again, it's a huge thing of where Joe's brought us in terms of the strength and depth that we have. You look at the last World Cup, and this is where we struggled. we miss one or two players.
That was it.
And we're gone. You know, if you look at how we've done this week, Bundy Aki now is playing beside Gary Ringrose.
Yeah.
Third different centre, third different partner.
Yeah.
Third week in a row. Like beforehand, if we'd had that,
I would have really
struggled.
killed us.
You know, like we would have had makeshift players gone in, makeshift midfielders in there, like wingers in.
So he kind of, James, we were talking about this earlier, kind of Martin. Does he look medium to long term in terms of developing players? Like, it's not necessarily about the here and now, what's coming up, the Six Nations. He's looking in terms of 2, 3, 4, and beyond that in terms of the talent pool which is coming up, and maybe not ready now, but integrating those players around the squad, making them comfortable around that, and to a certain extent playing a part in their development, bringing these younger players on through the system, and whether he's there or not, to see to bear the fruits of his labour to a certain extent, he's kind of taken that responsibility on as the manager.
Yeah, I think so. I think he got caught out initially in terms of at the last World Cup. It was just that squad. It was such a set squad, and then we lost one or two because, you know, from yourself, you played in the World Cup or in tournaments. You know, these tournaments where after games you're gonna lose players at these intensity. You know, and this is where we lost out now. We had a certain squad, players fatigue and injuries, and then we didn't have the squad depth. So he's obviously had to go back and look and say, right, we've actually got to go and have 2 or 3 players for each position, and now have that, and not just have it, but to be quality players that actually play. So he's actually, the last couple of years, look, this is all, for me, it's all, we're looking at this kind of short term. We're looking at, obviously, want to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we want to win Six Nations, we want to win everything, but it's World Cup.
Yeah.
Focus is 2019 World Cup Japan, okay? That's the focus. So if you can get these young lads, 1, winning attitude, getting used to that. 2, we have a couple of boys who are playing international, and it's not a big step up. You know, they're used to it. They play 4 or 5 caps under their belt. He can blood some more in the summer in the tour as well.
Yeah.
But I think initially it was a kind of a reaction to, well, we don't have the strength and depth that we thought we had.
Right.
And now we do, which is great.
Target the players, and let's get a hold of them, bring them into that kind of environment, and see how they react to it.
Speaking of strength and depth, Henderson on the bench surprised you a little bit. Devon Toner keeps his...
Yeah, I did. I was one who had said Henderson was going to come in. I didn't know who for. I thought maybe Devon would have stepped down, but haven't had a look at it.
What's the difference between them?
Between Devon, anyway, Devon would be more of a line-A specialist. I think maybe in the back of Joe Schutt's mind, he's looked at last year in Murrayfield, and the Gray brothers actually were very strong in that area in the line-out and kind of disrupted it. Got on top of us last year. So I think that's a huge area where Devon's come in. Henderson, though, I think as well, he's kind of, if you look at the bench as a whole, you have some surprising selections there. Jordan Larmour for me is another surprise, but it's actually a great selection as well in terms of where we're going and where Joe Schmidt's mind is. That we have this young guy who's going to come on, and this, you know, youthful exuberance that you have in a game like that, and he can
tell us a bit about him.
Well, he's only come onto the scene from this year, really, you know, and was he 21? Seems to have the head and the shoulders. Was in the academy in Leinster this year. A lot of players have spoken about him. A lot of coaches have spoken about him this year, and how he's had one of these breakthrough seasons. And I was unsure at the start as to whether to throw him in or not into the squad, and I'm delighted that he did. You know, it's sometimes you want to kind of look after the young lads and kind of go, no, you don't want to put him in too early. But look, age is but a number. So if he's good enough. But look, I think he's one of these guys who can really open up in an open game. Scotland play very open. I think if we played with a safer option on the bench, mightn't stand to us. I think this is going to stand to us. I think Larmour now in an open game, hopefully the way Scotland play, hopefully Ireland can let some shackles off as well.
Yeah. With a strength of ball,
Exactly. And you want your bench. Bench now is so crucial. You know, it's no more that you leave your first 15 on for the whole game and then you give lads 5 minutes. They come on. There's before the game.
Yeah.
You'll see maybe tomorrow that the front row 50 to 60 minutes. That'll change. You know, lads have got 25, 30 minutes in them, and they know they're playing that.
We haven't finished games particularly well, though, have we?
No, it's...
Why has that been? Considering we're talking about the strength and depth that's there, we've got 2-3 for every position. Why are we not finishing games particularly well?
To me, it's a case of kind of concentration. You know, I think that sometimes the job is done.
That won't sit well with Joe Schmidt, will it?
No, and it would have been a huge focus this week. I think defensive lapses more so than anything.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten a little bit narrow, decision making, concentration. just switched off a little bit in the last 15 minutes and let teams back into it when we've been quite comfortable. And like against Wales, we were quite comfortable, and then all of a sudden 2 quick tries, and we're under pressure again, you know. And and we don't need to be. We need to close out games. We need to kind of get that mindset, and that would have been a huge focus. And I noticed that Joe Schmidt had come out and said that Andy Farrell, you know, he's great stuff.
He's been taken a bit behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
the little slap on the wrist,
coach.
I'm sure, and just kind of tighten that up, make sure that's not happening again. But I'm going to back you publicly, of course. Not that there's an issue, but just tweak it and get it done.
You mentioned about number 13. Ringrose will be the third player to play there. He hasn't had a lot of rugby this season, has he? There has been signs of rustiness. Do you think he's getting there now?
Yeah, I do. Do you know what? Okay, game time's not been great, you know, completely agree with that, but he's one of these players who you'd be happy that he actually goes in there. If it was someone else, maybe I might have more concern, but he's an intelligent player, smart player. He's been there, he's done it. He knows it, and for such a specialised position at 13, it's extremely hard to, one, defend. There's an awful lot of traffic. It's a big wide space. I used to hate it. If I was ever in there, I'd normally be inside. Like, you know,
I was like Kenny stepping into midfield.
Exactly. You know the way you kind of get
playing
close.
in back three, getting stretched across the pitch.
Those grey areas.
Exactly. You get to the wing, and then all of a sudden you're left back or right back. It's like, what's going on here? But I was comfortable there because I didn't have the pace to kind of look after that. But there's a lot of traffic, and if you make a wrong read, players can get outside you. And he's a smart player, and I'm actually delighted he's back now. You know, I think he can be a huge force, especially against. Everyone's spoken about Hugh Jones, who's a Scottish 13 there, who's really kicked on the Six Nations. So I think he's one player who hopefully we can nullify.
The team has been getting a little bit of stick in terms of the style, and we know, Joe, you've mentioned in terms of his attention to detail, and he's very kind of regimental in his approach. We spoke about Sexton in terms of he felt he played a little bit more off the cuff against Wales. Do you think it's fair, the criticism? There's been likens to Jack Charlton's Ireland team where we've got this pool of players, but we're not allowing them to go and play it. People want this open, expansive game, but do you think it's harsh or do you think it's accurate?
It can be harsh, but it's all okay. Joe Schmidt had coached Leinster beforehand, and he'd played an extremely attacking style, you know, and I think people wanted, right, okay, this is the way we've done it in club, let's bring it into how we've done it and bring this into Ireland. International rugby is different, as you guys know, in soccer, you know, it's very different. You can't just kind of replicate it. You're only together a short amount of time. Like, you know, you got to get partnerships. Everyone's got to learn how the lads play, that sort of thing. It's kind of hard to do that, you know. Okay, in rugby, slightly different because it's kind of heavy Leinster, Munster. You know, you'd kind of be heavily stacked that side.
But James, do we play to our strengths? The style of rugby that we play, does it best complement the attributes of the individual players? To me, that's just a key element of coaching, of managing, in terms of making the best use of the components that you have available to you. It's not about the style, what particular style you want to see. It's about being efficient, being a winner and playing to your. Or do we do that? Do we play to our strengths?
I think we do now. Yeah, I do think that. I think especially now we have a physical back row. Say, for example, that's where we're going to be aggressive and we're going to be trying to win the gain line against the Scots. It's going to be very physical, you know. And we've picked the big side to do it. We're good at it, but when the game loosens up, then we're quite controlled in what we do. Like everyone's spoken about Joe Schmidt and how controlled and attention to detail. He's very controlled, and when it's on to go, like it's not as if the shackles are like we're like this, like you're stuck, stringent game plan. If it's on, it's on. But if it's not on, if it's on, you go for it. You make the wrong decision.
Play smart. Yeah.
Like if you make a wrong decision, you'll be held accountable, which is fine. But play safe. Well, they kind of play safe at the start. But they're playing how like to their strengths, you know. They're good at that. Eventually, when teams tire, then we can play. Well, you got to respect an opposition. Well, if you start going wide the whole time,
that's key to me. I don't understand this style of play kind of philosophy. I really don't. It's all just noise. It's just noise to me. If we have the players to play a different type of game, maybe a more expansive game, and you could make an argument potentially would be more successful playing that way, well, that's fair enough. I think there's an obvious argument there. But if, like James is suggesting there, the way that we actually play best complements the players that we have, it's effective, and it's a style of play which other teams don't enjoy as well. Playing against, find difficulty actually coping with us. Well, that's the way you've got to go. You've got to keep driving in that direction, surely.
I think as well, I completely agree, but I think as well, like this weekend now, you take the Scottish team who like to throw it around.
Yeah.
But with that comes like errors and mistakes.
Risk,
and risk reward, absolutely. And we saw against England, that was a hell of a risky pass that Finn Russell threw in between two players. Like, unbelievable.
Got away with it,
got away with it, and Scotland score. But on the flip, if that's a couple of centimetres left and right, okay, I know we're kind of particularly picking on it.
Yeah.
But it's
England
under the sticks.
Wales, last try against Wales, picking it off and going.
Exactly. And so it's risk reward. And I think there's a certain time for risk as well. But in an international tight, you gotta be smart and kind of play your way into it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I get a sense of that. And again, my knowledge is limited, but I get a sense of that watching us play in terms of how we're managing the game. Our game management is really good. We kind of play smart. We play kind of their percentages. People say, you say that in soccer, playing the percentages, hit the ball into channels, going back to front too early. People scoff at that, like almost as if this is kind of Neanderthal stuff, but it's not. It's effective. It's
not. It's really done well.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're getting results, if you think if you're getting results though, like what are the supporters going to say? Oh, I don't like, we're winning, but I don't like the way we play. Change it and then get beaten 4-0. Are you happy with that?
I think some players, there are traditions like that in all sport. Want to play a certain way, regardless of whether we win, lose, or draw. But I'd imagine they'd be in the minority.
What are you thinking, Smarting? Come on, give us a prediction of how it's going to go.
Nice one, Keith. Strong, yes.
Oh, God, you're next. You get yours ready.
No. Ireland should win this now. Very comfortable in this one. Well,
comfortably.
Sorry. I am. No, yeah, I am actually. Yeah. I don't know I haven't looked at the weather yet to see what it's supposed to be like tomorrow.
How does that affect the two teams?
If it's wet, more us, I think.
Showers in Dublin, I'm just hearing from the weather. Light drizzle. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, that might change a little bit. Again, we haven't mentioned Blair Kinghorn's having his debut on the wing. He's normally a full-back and he's against Stockdale, so they might test him out a little bit. And again, with weather conditions, that's just brought that into my head. That could be one. But no, I do think Ireland are going to win. Bit of an arm wrestle at the start, but I expect Ireland to pull away. Like I do, like we mentioned, that style. I think they'll break them down hopefully, and then hopefully pull away. And with that,
I'd love to see it right now. That first shot that goes on the pitch, the lads are warming up. You see that drizzle. It lifts me. I get heartened. You know what I mean?
I used to like playing in rain. Did you?
Yeah, because it slowed the whole game down. Absolutely, yeah. But that's what I mean. It's a game changer in terms of you can train all week for a dry track, and then all of a sudden it's rain. It's like right, that's it, the window. Right,
Joe will have that covered, won't he?
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Kenny, what are you saying?
I don't think you shouldn't really be asking me this question. I don't feel as if I'm really qualified to make it.
But sure.
No, my gut feeling tells me we'll win tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to get done tomorrow. I think whatever we do, I think England will match it at the very least against France. So we'll still have to go and get the result, draw, win or lose by small, whatever the margin is. We'll need to go and get it done at Twickenham, which is
Can you see us
what we
getting
hope for.
The bonus tomorrow? What do you think?
I can see us getting a bonus, yeah.
You see England getting a bonus though as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, but it's just, I hate all, maybe it's that French team, you just never know. Like, they're so annoying. They're so
the same year in, year out with them.
I know, but it's like sometimes, but they're even more of a mess. Like
this year because of the managerial change.
But then again, it's what we spoke about last week with the Scots. They can produce it for one game. It's against England, the crunch as they call it. So, but no, I can see. I'd love 5 points. Absolutely chop your hand off right now. But I'd take a 9-8. Jesus.
Okay, I've got a little road show to plug here. As the Six Nation nears its climax, the Off the Ball Roadshow in association with Heineken Rugby Club rolls into the National Concert Hall next Wednesday. We'll all be there. Oh, sorry, we're not invited. March 14th. Joe Malloy, Brian O'Driscoll welcome England's World Cup winning captain Martin Johnson to Dublin, along with Eddie O'Sullivan, Nick Popplewell, as we preview a potential championship and Grand Slam decider at Twickenham. To get tickets, go to offtheball.com/events. That's all we have time for. Kenny, James, thank you. But Kenny, stop shaking your head. I'm sick of that. Thanks for watching. We shall see you again on Monday. We're going to leave you with this video.
Welcome along to the shoutiest segment on Irish radio and digital media platforms. It's the splendido, it's the stupefying, it's another adjective that I forgot, crappy quiz. You're very welcome along to Central Park here in New York City. A quick disclaimer that if this thing happens to go black at any stage and we disappear, it's basically because a New York Ranger has got to us, because we may have just left our permit in the hotel, that's all. So allow me to welcome tonight's contestants, or today's contestants. I can't quite remember how the time difference works. Our first contestant tonight, who's standing right there, that you can see on camera, is a permanently outraged falsely angry man of the hour. He's been in New York for 24 hours and has already embedded himself in the local culture of faux outrage, saying things like, stupid tourists walk too damn slow for me in this city, and I don't know what people see in the Statue of Liberty, and everybody knows the best cups of Joe aren't found in Manhattan. He's buzzing to visit Museum of Modern Art. It's Adrian, who's your daddy, Barry?
Hello.
That was just weird. Let's just move on from that as soon as possible. Do you want to give us another hello in
Not really,
accent?
just there was
I think you nailed it the
one of the
first
few
time.
New York
Yeah,
people.
that was
I mean,
good.
we've spoken to some interesting New York people since we've been here on.
Yeah.
This is a microphone.
Yeah.
Can you speak into
Is
it?
it not normally?
No.
Okay.
No. The signs from the director off camera going, hold your mic to the
Yeah,
mic.
no, I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, that'll be a giveaway.
But yeah, one of the few people who've heard a very interesting hello. So I just thought I'd give that a bit of a repeat, and the people around the area would sort of get that, but apparently not. That's fine.
Well, that's a good story right there. We'll move on to the person standing in the middle. He should be standing where I'm standing, but there wasn't enough people to do this quiz. He usually rocks around the office back home, spitting stats and hipster information about the NFL, so he's not liking being in a place where a large slice of the population knows just as much about him about American sports. His takes in the drafts are now useless. His hours of watching the NFL Combine have been pointless, and all his Colin Kaepernick merchandise is completely worthless. He's a real average Joe in this city. It's Ger Gilroy.
Thanks, Alan. I'm among my people finally. This is my tribe.
Introducing.
You just got to go
Niners.
Go Niners.
I did, yeah.
Big hit with the locals.
Well, to certain locals. We may divulge into that a little bit later on. It may be a different item because there's people around us who can actually hear what we're saying, and we might actually not be quite safe if we go into that.
Make America great again.
Our final contestant tonight is a man who brims with fury at the tipping culture in New York City. He didn't even enjoy that big slice of cake he had last night because it added another 50 cents to his tip. He choked on his Eggs Benedict this morning when he realised the gratuity was 17%. And when he was asked to sign his receipt this lunchtime, he wrote in the tip section in block caps, "Fuck you." It's the Bachelor of Dundalk bringing his bachelor talents to NYC, the man more commonly known as Ray And. It's JP Gilbert.
That was a national title, by the way, not just Dundalk alone. Bachelor of Ireland, 2013.
The tipping thing is really getting the better of you, JP, I'd have to say.
It's confusing. I like you guys are good at maths.
Well, we
so
went to
I
20%, you were hammering the start to 12.5%.
Oh,
so.
yeah, 15 at best, come on.
12.5's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so too.
It's pretty.
Although you do forget
it's fine
that,
in an Irish context. In a US context, it's like, who are these stingy bastards?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Have you been watching any of The Bachelor since you've been here? It's like the biggest show on
No,
American TV.
I've heard good things. I haven't got the call yet, so it'll be a treat for the hotel room. Myself and the director sharing a hotel room will be a delight later on, no doubt.
Absolutely. As ever, the format of the Crappy Quiz is 4 rounds. After 4 rounds, the top two individuals will go forward to the slip and slide of knowledge, aka the rapid fire round, which we're reverting back to its original format for 1 week only. You can podcast the Crappy Quiz on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, or OffTheBall.com. Give us 5 out of 5, even if you're listening to this ironically. And if you have any questions, please send them via postcard to. Okay, how are you?
How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, left the terminal back in the hotel. You can send postcards, the usual place, but we're in New York, so we're not going to get them.
Get to the good bit.
So, round 1, the boring questions round. It's never multiple choice, folks. I'm sure you're all aware of that. First question is for Adrian. Who is the top try scorer in this year's Six Nations so far?
Oh, I thought this was all going to be American sports.
Just answer the question. Come on.
Top try scorer in the Six Nations so far. Jacob Stockdale?
Boom, correct. 4 tries for Jacob Stockdale, and he is indeed top scorer in this year's Six Nations.
I'm out of here.
Question 1 for Ger. It's Kerry versus Dublin in the National League this weekend. It's their first meeting since last year's league final, which Kerry of course won. But can you tell me which forward came off the bench for Dublin in that final last year and kicked 1-2 all from play? His goal was the only goal in that game.
O'Manion?
Correct. Ooh. A point apiece. JP, the pressure is on.
Yeah.
This is definitely a coincidence that it is this sport I'm asking you.
Is it a golf question?
Yes, it is a golf question. Okay.
It's almost like this is fixed to make JP relevant.
Always making up the numbers.
Can you name any non-American who has won a PGA Tour event this calendar year?
Non-American. PGA Tour event.
There's only 2 of them.
2 non-American winners?
Yeah, so far. This calendar year, not this 2017-18 season.
Right, okay.
Thanks for clarifying that one, by the way. Yeah.
Do you guys
January the 1st
already?
I mean,
Tommy Fleetwood has featured and has done well.
Okay, stop flinging out random answers and hopefully you get some sort
Who
of
won
encouragement.
the WGC? That was Justin Thomas. He is American, wasn't it?
Just stop you giving him tips there, Mr. Director, in the background. Is that the Ghostbusters building in the background? I'm just wondering.
I think it is.
Yeah. Was that the one, like, where the Michelin Man.
Is that Trump? That's Trump Tower there, is it?
No, Trump Tower's that way.
No,
That's the other way, yeah.
Wasn't Rafa Cabrera Bayo featured?
Come on.
Give me an answer.
What? I'm struggling
really
badly
easy.
here. Is it
Yeah.
Tyrrell Hatton?
Wrong.
John Ram.
John Ram won the Career Builder
Jason Day.
Challenge and Jason Day won the
Come
Farmers.
on, I don't even know that much about golf.
Round 2 is the deflowering of Scotland round. Oh, sorry,
Hey.
deflowering by Scotland round. Ahead of Ireland beating Scotland this weekend. This round will test your knowledge on some of the times we've been beaten by the Scots in the Six Nations. Question 2 for Adrian. Stuart Hogg obviously scored 2 tries in that win against Ireland last year. They did score one other try. Who got it? Was it A. Alex Dunbar, B. Sean Maitland, or C. Tommy Seymour?
I'm gonna go with.
Same day Mayo played Monaghan in the league, if that's any help.
Not really. I'm gonna go with Maitland.
No, incorrect. It's Alex Dunbar. Apologies on behalf of you. Question 2 for Gerard. The last time Scotland beat Ireland in Dublin was in 2010. That was Ireland's last game at Croke Park, of course. But which of the following current Ireland players did not feature that day? Was it A. Keith Earls, B. Johnny Sexton, or C. Conor Murray?
What year was it?
2010.
It's the day that O'Gara has the cross kick but comes off the bench, so I'm going to say that Sexton does play. I would have said.
Why did I say it out loud?
I would say that Conor Murray was probably starting to Keith Earls.
Wrong, it was Conor Murray. Conor Murray didn't make his debut until 2011 for Ireland. JP?
A chance to step back in here.
Before last year's reversal, 2013 was the last time Scotland managed to beat Ireland.
Work golf into a rugby question.
In the
Yeah,
Six
that's going to be
Nations.
tricky. St Andrews.
Who was the lowest handicap?
Laidlaw's foot was like a driver that day when he kicked them to a 12-8 win. But who was the Scottish head coach on that occasion? Was it?
What year was this, sorry?
2013.
Okay.
Was it A. Andy Robinson, B. Scott Johnson, or C. Vern Cotter?
Vern was recent, was he not?
What year?
2013.
Why don't you just ask who was the Scotland coach in 2013?
Because there needs to be a bit of
It ha-
context.
No, it has to
this
involve
would
a
have been-
Scotland win.
I'll say it's
That's why you
Andy
answer the
Robinson.
question.
Wrong, it was Scott Johnson. I know,
Was it?
sorry. Yeah, it was Scott Johnson interim for 2 years.
I thought
according to
blanked with
Wikipedia.
Scott Johnson in Scotland. Are you sure?
Was he
It
like
says it on
Vern
Wikipedia.
Cotter's
Alright, okay.
sort of assistant and then he took over the main role?
Well, no, it says it on Wikipedia. It says head coach.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
sorry about
That's
that.
good enough for me.
2 rounds in, 1-1-0. Round 3, the New York Sporting Icons round. Since we're here in the Big Apple,
Patrick
this
Ewing.
round is going to test your It's going to test your knowledge on some of the biggest sporting names associated with the city. Question 3 for Adrian.
Eli.
Which legendary American football fullback went to Manhasset High School and Syracuse University in New York, despite the fact that his NFL career was pretty much all based in Cleveland?
I haven't a clue. Eli Manning, I have no idea.
No, it was not Eli Manning. It was Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Question 2 for 3 for Jer. Which legendary basketball player born in New York is a top scorer in the association's history with 38,387 points?
Little Stilt?
No, Kareem.
Oh!
Question 3 for JP.
Cocky.
Can he bring it back
No.
to all square? Which tennis player grew up in Queens and won 9 Grand Slams despite never winning the Australian or French Opens?
John McEnroe.
Correct, we have it tied. 1-1-1. Going in, fun-free magic number round. I might actually have to pull my visa out of my bag so I can actually get some paper.
We have no pens and papers, so we'll just do it in our heads, yeah?
Yeah, do it in your head.
Or your phone.
Or your phone, yeah. I might actually need one of your phones for a stopwatch.
That's fine. We'll just...
Okay.
Make up a bunch of
Yeah, come on. We can count.
Right.
Mississippi 2, Mississippi
Is everybody
3,
ready to go with their notepads and their phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so just to kind of...
Can't you do a calculator and a notepad, do we?
Yeah, you can do it in the
Whatever you
calculator.
want.
Just to reiterate, contestants get 3 points in the magic number round for getting the number exactly right. If no one manages that, the nearest contestant who doesn't go bust gets 2 points, and the second closest gets
Everybody
1 point.
knows.
Again, I'm going to state that we can only accept the answer that's typed into your phone. I'm also going to ask for your pens, your fingers, once the music ends.
Hello.
So if you don't mind, give us the following number.
There's a child watching this right now.
Let's go.
Come on.
The number of tries scored by Bundy Aki in the Six Nations so far this season, plus the number of National League games Dublin have lost in Jim Gavin's reign as manager, plus the number of Premier League goals scored by Mo Salah so far this season, plus the number of Super Bowls New York Giants have won in their history. Your 30 seconds expire when Sinatra sings "A Bright Shiny Bead" as ever, all numbers plucked from Wikipedia. Very good afternoon to you. Some fans of the Crappy Quiz, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to... You are at the Crappy Quiz. You can send all postcards to Off the Ball Towers, Marconi House, Diggs Lane, Dublin 2, Ireland. This is offtheball.com. So go like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. We've got a new show called OTB AM every weekday morning, which is very, very good. You'll definitely enjoy it.
I'd say that's close to 30 seconds.
Here we go. Bright Shiny Beads has just been sung.
I'm going to go with 31.
24?
21.
34 is the correct
Yes!
answer.
Get in!
We've got applause as well from our
You
fans.
got all of those individual answers wildly wrong.
Cheers.
How'd you get there?
Bodiaki 2.
2. The number of National League games Dublin have lost. Jim Gavin. 6.
I had 3.
Yeah.
I had 2.
The number of Premier League goals scored by Salah this season. 24.
I had 12.
Plus the number of Super Bowls Giants have won. 4. Super Bowl 21, 25, 42 and 46. So at the end of that round, it is Ger and Adrian proceeding to the rapid fire round.
Should I depart the scene?
It is 3-2. No, you can stay there. You can stay there.
We'll do to start
what's the
senior
scores?
2.
It is 3-2.
So then you and I
So
spread out against the slag.
our winner tonight will be decided from the round that separates the men from the boys. I forgot to put in another.
Sounds like an earthquake.
Yeah, we're going to just take a pause
We
here.
have a cutaway here.
No, that's going to last forever.
It's a jackhammer.
Somebody's
It's,
literally building a building.
I say
in
press
New York.
on. I say press on.
We're not going to be able to do
It's all part of the...
Johnny, we sound good enough to press on?
Yeah.
Keep the mics close to our mouths. Okay, so it's the no theme in particular rapid fire round. We all know how it works. Everybody knows how this thing works. So score you get in this round will be added to your score in the previous round. We're reverting back to the old format, as I said at the top of the show.
What's the score?
It is 3-2 to Adrian. Adrian takes a 1 point lead in. We're not going to do a timer because I need to use my phone for the questions and I don't have a stopwatch. So we're just going to ask you 8 questions each.
Okay, perfect.
And
We can sort of. This is going to suit me way better.
No,
Just take our time on it.
I think we need to stopwatch
fire,
elements.
yeah. I will say pass if you're taking too long.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Ger goes first, right? That's
Oh yeah, who wants to go first or second?
Ger. Yeah, put him in.
All right.
Put him in class.
Sure, there is no time limit, but your
Hang
time
on,
starts.
stopwatch. How long do we have?
No.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Your
20
time
seconds,
starts
JP.
Okay, we've got it
now.
Was Trevor Berbick Ali's last fight or Tyson's last fight?
Ali.
Correct. Keith Andrews became the youngest captain in over a century for which football club? Wrong. Wolves. Named a Cork hurling manager.
Pass.
John Myler. A Year in the Centre is a memoir written by which former rugby player? Correct. Portman Road is which English
Ipswich.
Correct. Who won the men's Australian Open in January?
Nadal.
20 seconds is over.
Federer, I got it before you said it. No, you did not. No. First answer was inaccurate. Your first answer was wrong. You didn't fix it. That's
what do you
wrong.
think? Did he get it before the time?
Got it because
Here,
the
you
time doesn't start until the first answer.
You can come in and give your
Nobody gave
verdict.
his answer. Get out of here.
He has to get it because the time doesn't start until the first answer.
Independent
Correct.
communicator.
Yes.
Correct.
That's nonsense.
I love you all.
You better come back here and give me a point in a minute.
No,
He's a bad guy.
Right, so how many of those did you get correct? You got the first one right.
No.
1, you got Myler wrong. O'Driscoll 2. Did you get Ipswich?
I did. Portman Road.
So 4, yeah. Thanks to our friend in the corner there giving you that one.
3
So
for the draw, Adrian, at 20 seconds.
So I mean,
just left.
And your
So
20
that's the number of
seconds
friends.
starts.
Now.
Who will host the 2024 Olympics?
Russia.
Paris. Callum Wilson plays for which club?
Sunderland.
Bournemouth. Brandon Grace is from which country?
South Africa.
Correct. In which year is the next British and Irish Lions tour?
2020.
No, 21. According to Wiki, who is the Ireland cricket captain?
William Porterfield.
Correct. In which country will you find the Ostersons?
And your time's up.
What country will you find the Ostersons?
Yeah, the team that Arsenal beat in the last round of
Sweden.
the Europa League. Correct. So Sweden 1, Porterfield 2, South Africa 3, and he didn't get any.
Draw!
It's a tie break
My word.
to determine who wins.
I really should have won this, by the way, because you got that question incorrect.
I got it correct.
No, you got it. You gave your first answer, and that was wrong.
No, but I corrected it before.
But you can't correct it. You gave your answer, and it was wrong.
Anyway, go on.
We have a tie break. So will you toss a coin? Who do you want to go first or second into tie break? You want to?
Come on here.
Do you want to
Let the lady.
If you want to stand in front, or so you can actually.
So who's head?
Can I have Mikey?
Yeah, Mikey, you come on in and toss a coin.
Yep.
Go for it, Mikey.
So heads or tails?
That's a Euro, Mikey.
Keep going in.
You're going to call it in the air, are you?
Yeah,
Keep going in.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Which
So
is
whatever
which
you
is
want.
Heads or hearts? Yeah. Heads or tails? Yeah, heads or hearts.
Which one do you want?
I'm going for tails,
Okay.
which is the opposite side to the heart. Oh!
That's it?
It's
It's a harp.
That's tails, right?
So, Jared, do you want to go first or second in the tie break?
Oh, this is ridiculous now. I'm going to
You
get
can keep that.
Right. Our tie break
JP
question.
is literally He's
Thank
never
you very
given money
much.
away before.
It's
so.
all for the camera. It's all for the camera. I'm going to get that back later on. Don't worry about that.
Our tie-break question. Our tie-break question is: how many Ireland caps does Ian Madigan have?
I think I know the answer to this.
Considering you interviewed him and spent 4 hours in his company last week, I would expect you to know the answer to
I think I've overcommitted myself now as well. How many Ireland caps does Ian Madigan have?
Yes.
I think it's 34.
34. Higher or lower, Ger?
Lower.
Correct. 30.
Oh, that is ridiculous. I was done there twice.
Know your interview subject.
I was done twice.
The winner of the first ever Central Park annual crappy quiz is Ger Gilroy, who should actually be hosting the thing. So who knows?
He shouldn't have won that. You do know.
But even when you're the hallmark of a good team is when you're not playing well, you still get grind out the results.
Well, when you cheat your way to win, because when you shouldn't have got that answer.
Should have got that one.
Let me do the classic crappy quiz outro. Friday Night Racing is up next. Good luck.